Hello everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to another Sovereign Citizen stream. Today we're going to be taking a look at David Strait. Around 2020, he started getting really popular and helped actually spread the modern sovereign citizen movement as we know it today, how it's kind of mixed up with QAnon conspiracies and stuff. He really helped get to where we are. He's no longer with us. David Strait passed away, so he's no longer giving conferences, but we are going to go ahead and take a look at one of his conferences today, at least part of one. We're going to go over his sovereign citizen beliefs, as this is the foundation to a lot of the sovereign citizens' beliefs that we watch here on stream. So it should be good. This is something I was sent in chat by Harold Elbelbit. Hold on, let's take a look.
Good morning, class. Who's ready for a pop quiz? Okay, that's the spirit. Can anyone tell me what FUTA is?
It's the Federal Unemployment Tax Act, obviously.
It stands for Federal Unemployment Tax Act.
See? I was right. What's wrong with you? You're fucked up in the head. Carpcosian with the 15 stream streak says, I'm nearly finished with my second book, maybe one or two more chapters. Very cool. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at David Strait's thing today. Here he is. I changed the thing again. Is this better? I'm probably gonna, this is the new chat is probably gonna look different as I try out new things. Guys, remember in the 90s when Rosie O'Donnell tried a bunch of different weird desks on the Rosie O'Donnell show? That's probably what's gonna happen here. We're gonna try a bunch of different weird little looks for this, and then we'll pick one once we get one we like. Still big, though? I know, I only had so much time before stream because I had other stuff going on to fix it. Sorry. Anyway, so without further ado, oh, I should say, if you're on YouTube, do me a favor, like the stream, I'd appreciate it. Just hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to help support the stream, you can always do so on YouTube with super chats or memberships. On Twitch, you can do so with subscriptions or bits. All right, let's jump right in.
Everybody's at different stages in this learning.
And I will say, I have him at 1.5 speed because he talks pretty slowly. And I think, from what I heard, I listened to this twice today. I've listened to this before because it's a really good solid foundation on sovereign citizen beliefs. He talks a little slow, so I think 1.5 speed is appropriate for the density of information he is giving out. Also, I will say, I'm not going to say after everything he says, that's not true, because I'd be saying it a million times. It would be a terrible drinking game. So instead, just assume everything he's saying is wrong, and I will do my best to explain things I do know, or talk about sort of the rhetorical purpose of the lie within the speech. Okay, so let's go.
Everybody's at different stages in this learning game of the Great Awakening because we're all waking up across the country. This is a biblical thing. Nobody made it up, at least not on this earth anyway. But we know exactly
This is a biblical thing. No one made it up.
What's going to go on, approximate time frames of what's going to happen. And right now we're in an exciting time to be alive.
That's one way of looking at it.
This is a war between good and evil. It's also a war between we the people and the Bar Association. The Bar Association is a cause of the vast majority.
It's a pretty common sovereign citizen tactic to rhetorically refer to themselves as we the people, as if they are the true inheritors of the spirit of the Constitution. Again, they're trying to, or at least what David Strait is trying to do here, is belittle the institutions in the United States, the legal institutions mostly, but pretty much all institutions, as you'll see as we go through this, and instill in his audience the idea that he is super smart, that he is influential, and that he understands legal systems better than anyone that exists within those systems. Those are the primary purposes, is to sell them on this worldview. This was a multi-day seminar, and he spent days doing this, but this is just day one. Hey, sweet Lily Love.
Majority of problems we have in America and the world. They own and control everything. I got a good friend, he's fairly young. His name is Justin, and Justin sailed through high school. He has the ability.
This is what I'd call a parable. When I grew up in church, anyone who's gone to church, or at least certain kinds of churches, is sort of aware of the use of parable in preaching. I'm not just talking about stuff that exists in the Bible, but when you're actually in church and you're being pastored to, taught to, spoken to by the minister or the priest or whatever they're called in your particular church. They tell stories that have a moral purpose, that set an example as to how you should act. And this opening story, to me, is a perfect example of a parable. I don't believe this story happened. It doesn't really seem believable that this story happened, but that's not the point. It's illustrating an attitude within a system that he wishes his marks to follow, because in order to follow that path, they have to listen to him, because he's the one with the secret knowledge. So if you want to be a moral individual, like the person in the parable he's about to tell, you better listen to the rest of his talk intently, because he has the keys to allowing you to be a moral person too, and stand up against what he calls a satanic legal system.
Ability to read and retain every word, every page number. Look it up later, know where it is, what book it came out of, who wrote it. Just blows my mind, his level.
Was he a true believer or just a scammer? I believe he's a scammer. That's why I put in the title con artist. So many sovereign citizen gurus believe this stuff, even today, right? Cameron, we talk about sometimes. Cameron's a true believer, and Cameron actually took a lot of his beliefs from David Strait. As we listen to this, you might pick up on some of the stuff that was copied by Cameron. The difference being David Strait comes off to me as someone who knows this is all bullshit, whereas Cameron buys in. Kind of weird. It's interesting how you can effectively have two people running the same scam, but one person knows it's a scam and the other person is a true believer that doesn't understand what they're doing. It's interesting, in my view, at least. You can think Cameron's straight scamming, but he's into conspiracy and stuff, so I think he's really a true believer. Gothgeek Gaming with 40-bit says, I am we the people. Are you okay, my man?
Level of competency. 2 years of law school, and he got a doctorate after high school. Probably one of the youngest attorneys I've ever seen. Passed the bar on his first try with an 800 score.
How did he die? Cancer. He died of cancer. There's no joke here, because cancer's a terrible thing, and I wouldn't make fun of it, even in someone I think is despicable.
Nobody does that. And he went to work for one of the largest law firms in Seattle. And at his celebration party, they rented the Space Needle for a celebration party for the night. So the entire law firm had it. They had dinner, and then Justin's standing there, and he's looking out the windows at the city lights of Seattle. And the main partner of the law firm walked up.
Wait, I'm sorry, they hired one person, so they rented the Space Needle? Did I miss that? Hold on.
His level of competency. 2 years of law school, and he got a doctorate after high school. Probably one of the youngest attorneys I've ever seen. Passed the bar on his first try with an 800 score. Nobody does that. And he went to work for one of the largest law firms in Seattle. And at his celebration party, they rented...
At his celebration party, again, a huge law firm that has just hired one new employee who recently passed the bar, and they rented out the Space Needle for this event. Do you see why I find him less than trustworthy? His stories make no sense if you think about them for even a second, but it's important that it be in the Space Needle so you can picture the scene that's about to happen of him kind of looking over the city. It's dramatic. It's almost cinematic. It's like a movie. We're all watching a movie. Steve with a Q with 50 bits says, so do you think this guy's a true believer, or might David Strait be crooked? The CSI Miami thing.
The Space Needle for a celebration party for the night.
That's the kind of thing you do for someone who just made partner, not a fresh hire. Exactly. That's my thinking. That was my thinking too. I could see if it was someone who had just made partner, because that's a big deal. But no, not just random person fresh out of school.
So the entire law firm had it. They had dinner and then...
Does this guy get tased? No, not in this video. He's a sovereign citizen con artist guru, so this is just him talking about the sovereign citizen beliefs.
Justin standing there.
Other sovereign citizen days we see people get tased, but today's kind of a chill one where we're listening to the rhetoric.
And he's looking out the windows at the city lights of...
The highest possible score for the universal bar exam is 400, not 800. Gasp! You'll notice throughout this he'll say multiple things that don't make any sense and don't comport with how reality works. It's kind of just part of his shtick. It's kind of like, you know how in scam emails there'll be misspellings and stuff to weed out smarter people that would have noticed that kind of thing? Feels a little bit like that. Like there's obvious logical gaps in a lot of his stories. Feels like it's maybe weeding out some people who would be less trusting of what he has to say.
Seattle, and the main partner of the law firm walked up and put his arm around Justin, and he said...
So he's a source of Sobsit BS. Correct. Very correct.
What do you see out there?
That Needle restaurant is okay at best, but on the bright side, it gave us the inspiration for one of the best Final Destination premonition scenes. So that's pretty good.
Who do you think controls all of that? We've got some of the largest companies in the world. We've got Microsoft and Amazon and Boeing right here in Seattle. Who do you think controls those? Who do you think controls the little mom and pop stores down there on the pier in downtown? Who do you think controls the state of Washington's government and all the little municipalities and the county governments? Who do you think controls all that? And Justin proceeded to say, well, we the people elect our representatives and they control government, and the CEOs make the decisions for the corporations. And the leading law partner let out a big old belly laugh, and he says, no, not one CEO, not one legislator makes a decision. Not one invoice, not one piece of sales literature, not one contract is written by any of them. They're written by us. They don't make a decision without running it past their legal department. We, the Bar Association, makes the decisions that run the world. And Justin looked him in the eye.
He's at 150. He's at 1.5 speed because he talks very slowly.
He shook his hand and said, I quit. And now he's helping.
Sorry, I stepped on the conclusion to the parable.
They don't make a decision without running it past their legal department. We, the Bar Association, makes the decisions that run the world. And Justin looked him in the eye, shook his hand, and said, I quit. And now he's helping the people with the law.
So the parable is setting up the idea that this world is run by a secret group of megalomaniacal, narcissistic Satanists. In this case, he's framing lawyers, people who have passed the bar, people who are part of the Bar Association, as part of effectively a cabal that are secretly controlling the world, and he is painting the protagonist of the story, the new lawyer, as someone you want to be. Don't you want to be a person with integrity that stands up to this cabal? Be like him. You want to be like him? Listen to me. I have all the knowledge to fight this secret cabal, and we can do what that kid did and more and take the fight to them, framing it as a battle between the normal people, the common man, the rhetorical we the people, in order to justify attacking the laws of the country that he lives in, delegitimizing the laws of the country in which we live.
He tore his bar card up and he walked out and he threw it away. Okay? I'm really proud of him. Over the years, I've probably got 20 or 30 attorneys to tear up their bar cards. And I've got judges that help us. Because they understand, once I've taught them the basics, that they didn't know what the law was. They didn't know its origin. They didn't know what it came from. If I was to ask you, where did the law come from? What's its origin? How did we arrive at this thing called law where a small group of men could put something down on paper and try and...
Okay, so human beings used to live in small tribes or communities where the rules were more or less social custom. But then as we began to build larger civilizations, like in Mesopotamia, it became necessary to write down official codes of law that spelled out what was considered right and what was considered wrong, or I guess I should say what was considered legal versus what was considered illegal. Early examples of this are the Code of Hammurabi, which I think is like the second earliest legal code. The first earliest is also Mesopotamian. It's like something. I'm blanking on the exact name of this. But basically, as long as we have historical record of human beings existing in civilizations, we have people creating systems of law to deal with conflicts within society. This is not a new thing. It's not even a controversial thing. Any group of people coming together towards a task, whether it's just working together or surviving in a civilization together, needs rules, at least base ones, to deal with conflict that inevitably arises.
and hold me, a man, accountable? Could you answer that question?
I can't remember the act, but it was 1870.
You watched my video, okay? No, actually it wasn't. It was Genesis 1:26 through 28. God
No, the law is not based on the Bible.
gave me man dominion over
Namu. Thank you, Profane Priestess. I knew it was something.
the land, the air, and the water. And this is law. The land became common law, common to all mankind. It's property, it's equity, it's rights. It's our rights. They're unalienable. What does unalienable mean? They cannot
It's nonsense sovereign citizens made up.
place a lien upon our rights. That's what it means. Those rights are unalienable. It has to do with
That doesn't even mean anything.
things of property
How would you put a lien on someone's rights?
nature, patents and grants.
A lien is like something you place on property that someone has because they owe a debt. How would you put a lien on someone's rights? Rights aren't property. There's no monetary value for rights.
And securities.
Is he trying to say inalienable? So yes, sovereign citizens have taken the word inalienable and bastardized it into unalienable, which is not a word.
Gold and silver, commodities, things we own, right? Things we own. That's what common law is. It deals with properties and it deals with our rights. The air, which is
Caesar Bishop says this YouTube Twitch chat combo is weird. I feel like we're being invaded. Is this Fox News? The invasion from the YouTube chat is heating up. The caravan of YouTube chatters.
the highest form of law. The air is above the land, which is above the water. The air is ecclesiastical or canon law, which is trust law. All things held in trust, held in the benefit of another, are heirs. It's trust law. That's all it is. In Genesis 1:26 through Genesis 2:25 is a trust indenture. Why did God start that off right in the very beginning of the Bible? He put the world under trust to mankind.
No, that's not a legal thing. The idea that the Christian God or Jewish God or Abraham or whatever, the Abrahamic God, that covers all three, decreed that you should take dominion over the earth is a religious belief, not a legal one.
We're the trustees. He's the executor. He placed it to us to manage for the benefit of our beneficiaries, our future heirs, for generations to come. Lives on in perpetuity forever. And what is the definition of
He mixes a lot of Christian nationalism into this, as you would expect.
forever? Until the end of the earth. Forever is till the end of the earth. Then we're in eternity. Okay? So it lives on in perpetuity.
You figured out how to put a lien on someone, and there's a link. Balky.
Perpetuity forever.
Hey, Mr. Duck Sauce.
The jurisdiction of the water is admiralty law. It is commerce. It's contract law. Things held in contract with another. Now, there's some interesting elements to a true contract that the Bar Association doesn't want to teach you. The Bar Association teaches you there's got to be an agreement, consideration, and both people have to sign, and you've got a contract. Well, that's not true. There's 8 elements of a contract, okay? But one of the most important of those elements is a contract has to be between like kind. Can a man write a contract with a man? Yes. And when I use the word man today, that means mankind. I'm not being gender specific, it's mankind. It's our
Like kind is very creationist verbiage.
species. Okay, so a man can have a contract with a man, but a corporation has to have a contract with a corporation.
That's not true. You can make a contract between people and corporations. It happens all the time. If you've ever hit I agreed on any terms of service on any app, any program, any website, you've gotten into a contract with a corporation. It's just a fact. Like, I don't know where he's getting this idea other than he just thinks it's convenient for his argument.
Can a man have a contract with a corporation? No. Can't. It's like kind versus like.
Is he actually talking to lawyers? No. He's talking to marks. He's talking to rubes. He's talking to sovereign citizens and potential sovereign citizens who have paid him to come and speak. And I think he also offers them other things that they can pay for.
Like kind.
Offered, past tense. Again, he's dead now.
They put things in corporations, anybody know? Why did they start doing that?
Oh, I also want to point out, if anyone has seen the Nick Offerman movie Sovereign, which is about the sovereign citizen movement, I didn't get this information from anywhere. This is just a speculative belief of mine. I think that Nick Offerman based his performance of the sovereign citizen in Sovereign off of David Strait. Like, if you listen to this talk and then listen to Nick Offerman's sovereign citizen speeches in Sovereign, they're very identical. It's almost like you took David Strait's speeches, fed it into an AI, and told it to write a script. But not in a negative way. It's not like bad. It's just very reminiscent. They touch on the same points. And the performance Offerman gives is very evocative of David Strait. You need to see that movie. We might do a Discord movie night and watch it. I know we're already going to start doing Discord movie nights as a tip goal that we did. That's probably one of the movies we'll watch at some point.
Liability just to that corporation, so that the people who are in the corporation cannot be sued, only the assets of the corporation.
You're exactly right. It's to limit liability. So if a man has integrity, purpose, knows all 8 elements of a contract and writes a proper contract where there's a meeting of the minds, there's full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract, there's equal consideration where one person gives something up and one receives, and the other gives something up and the other receives, it has to be a two-way street. If that's true, why do they have to form corporations? No, I'm serious. The reason is because of lack of integrity. If we had integrity, we'd never need a corporation. If we were honest, we'd never need a corporation.
That doesn't follow. What does honesty have to do with being in a corporation or making a corporation or not? It's a complete non sequitur.
Corporations exist so that people can be taken advantage of. Yeah, because they have no integrity. So that's a pretty sad thing. And one of the main things we got to learn is the United States of America is not the same thing as the United States. It's not the same thing as USA Inc. Salt Lake County is not the same thing as the county of Salt Lake.
They are.
Salt Lake City is not the same thing as Salt Lake City Incorporated. Okay? You are not the same thing as your all caps name. So my name, David Lester Strait, spelled in all capital letters, is not the same as David Lester Strait in upper and lower case. What happened is a vessel was created. A vessel. And the law clearly talks about vessels over and over and over again.
This is a big thing in sovereign citizen stuff and other conspiracy circles. We've talked about this before, and I believe the name we came up with between chat and I was etymological determinism. It's this idea that if you can somehow either go back to a word's origins and find its earlier meaning, or split a word apart into two separate words that have different meanings, that you can somehow discern a secret unknown meaning to the word. It's not true, it's not how language works, it's at least not how English works, but consistently we see sovereign citizens and other conspiracy theorists doing this time and time again to manufacture evidence for their nonsense. Black's Law Dictionary request. What do you want me to look up, Ken's sister Sue?
Why am I talking so much about law? It's because kindergarten through 12th grade, how many law classes did you have?
Vessel will do.
Why? That's right. The moment you turned 15 years old and got a permit to operate a motor vehicle that you didn't even need, you've been dealing with the law. And yet, you never had any classes? They teach you algebra. How much algebra have you used since you got out of high school? No, most people haven't.
I feel like that's more telling on yourself than anything else. I hate this argument of, I never use algebra. Okay, first of all, you could. I'm sure you have something in your life where you could find a variable, even if it's something basic in your budget or whatever. But secondly, learning things like algebra and higher maths than algebra, it helps develop like critical thinking skills. It helps you develop problem-solving skills that are important. And it's pretty clear that the people in this group that fucking hate math, I guess, and think it's stupid and a waste of time, and I never used that in my life. Apparently they did not develop those critical thinking skills because they're here at David Strait's presentation. So, don't really know what else to say about that.
Okay? So they teach us things we don't necessarily need and leave out the things that we do. I thought it was a government-funded government.
Vessel, maritime law, a ship, brig, sloop, or other craft used or capable of being used to navigate on the water. To qualify as a vessel under the Jones Act, the structure's purpose must be some reasonable degree to transport passengers, cargo, or equivalent from place to place across navigable waters.
Government-controlled curriculum, government school system. At some point in time, somebody's got to take responsibility for our education. Who's that going to be? I don't think it should be. It should be our parents. You know, it really should. Our parents are responsible. That's one of the reasons I feel so lucky. I had great parents, and they taught me to question authority. Now, my school that I went to told me not to question authority. So in my early days, my parents went in one ear and out the other, and the school sunk in, and I obeyed authority in the early days. Okay? And that always gets you into trouble. So, what city are we in? Riverton? So if the city of Riverton police drove in right now, who are they? Do you know?
Statute and code enforcers.
Well, that's right. It says policy on the side of their car.
James asks, Hannah, do you think these Sovset gurus should be charged with crimes for making these training videos? I feel like creating Sovsets using manipulation and fake classes should be a crime. I don't know enough about First Amendment, like constitutional law, to say where exactly the line between his free speech end and direct fraud begins. Because he'd be free to say this. Like, even if it's wrong, even if he's lying, it's not illegal to lie. But if he's doing so with the attempt to get money from people unjustly and you're able to prove he is doing that, you'd think that would fall under some kind of fraud. But how would you ever prove that realistically in court, that he doesn't believe this? I strongly believe that. I think that based on his argumentation, I think that it's pretty clear that he's just outright lying, but it's not the kind of thing that you could just easily show in court without a level of subjectivity and hoping that a jury sees the same thing you do. It's not a smoking gun. So I think that would be a very, very difficult thing to do. Do I think literally it's fraud? Probably. Do I think it's likely that you could prove it as fraud? It'd probably be pretty difficult.
Police is policy. They're policy enforcement agents.
Trey says if we made sovereign citizens making money off being sovereign citizens illegal, we essentially need to make being wrong about anything illegal. Yeah.
doesn't say law enforcement. It's policy. Supreme Court of the United States says rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances are not law. They're not law. They're corporate bylaws. They're for
Incorrect.
employees of the corporation to follow. So are you an employee of the corporation of the city of Riverton? Not for this discussion. Okay. You're not. But you are, because you consented. And what I mean by that is you volunteered and you call yourself. You self-determine. Your very first foundational cornerstone unalienable right is your right of self-determination. The church teaches it as free agency, right? That's the right to self-determine. What's right, what's
Unless you're a Calvinist.
wrong. So you self-determine that you're a citizen, a person, and a resident. And if you are, you need CPR because you're dead. Yeah, you're a dead entity. You ever heard the term all are equal in the law? Rich or poor, black or white, you all have equal.
The problem with that, Harold Elbelman, is who gets to decide what's incorrect? Who gets to decide what's wrong? I understand that in theory, if you had a perfect knowledge machine that knew everything objectively, there would always be a person having to make that call. And for instance, do you trust people in power right now with people like Donald Trump to make that call about what is seen as true? Do you think that they would be fair about that or reasonable?
Standing, things like that. It's because you're all dead. What is an indictment?
This is ironic because he is now dead.
An indictment's a true bill. It says that right at the bottom of every indictment. It's a bill, it's an invoice. Did you bother to ask how much is the bill if you were indicted? No, nobody does. So you're brought up.
The word bill has multiple meanings. A bill does not inherently mean it's someone asking you for money. Have you heard the term handbill? Perhaps. The Bill of Rights was not anyone asking for money.
Up on charges. You don't pay the charges, you're asked to bond. If you don't pay the bond, your body is held as surety for the bond. Well, they collect from your Cestui Que Trust that you don't even know you have. Do you understand those are all banking terms? So what is a court? Look up the word court in a legal dictionary. It says C bank, C post office. You look up the word judge, it says C banker, C postmaster.
I'm already looking. Hold on. Ugh. We'll go with judge.
Everything is banking. Do you know you have a 72-hour right of rescission on everything? You get a tip.
On contracts, the 72-hour right of rescission is for contracts. He thinks by framing every legal issue as a contract issue that it gives you the ability to rescind criminal charges or even civil things like tickets. You can't do that. They're not contracts.
Ticket from a police officer and he gives you a ticket for speeding down the road. You can rescind that ticket within 72 hours.
No, you can't.
So I didn't ask, do we have any police officers in the room?
This is, by the way, something that a lot of sovereign citizens will do when they get tickets, and then they end up getting bench warrants for not paying said tickets.
Any attorneys? Any government agents? That's a shame. I wish you guys had some of those around because I'd love to debate them for just a little bit.
So how do you do that right of rescission on a ticket?
I take a red Sharpie at a 45-degree angle. I write your offer to contract is not accepted while traveling in private in my private automobile. You operate under Title 18, Section 241 and 242 as a conspiracy to deprive me of my rights under the color of law. And I mail it back in.
Even if it's speeding, no matter what.
Here's some case law. Operation of a motor vehicle upon public streets and highways is not a mere privilege, but is a right or.
All right, here's the definition of judge, which is different than what he said. Judge, accusative of judex, which originally meant one who shows right, someone appointed to decide a dispute, a public official appointed or elected to hear and decide legal matters in court, a judicial officer who has the authority to administer justice. Wow, that wasn't anything like what he said about bankers and other bullshit. It's almost like he's an abject con artist stealing money from idiots. Wow. That's a little mean. Desperate people who also are gullible. They're the salt of the earth.
Liberty protected by the guarantees of federal and state constitutions. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and the individual cannot be rightfully deprived. No state government entity has the power to allow or deny passage upon the highways. Transporting his vehicles and personal property for either recreation or business, travel is not a privilege that can be permitted at will with forced insurances, registration, or licensing, but a common and fundamental right of liberty granted by the Constitution.
We've gone over that particular ruling before because it's something that sovereign citizens bring up a lot. They're cherry picking it. This is a case about political subdivisions creating licensing requirements. So a political subdivision within a state is like a county or a city, any incorporated like entity within the state that's like a you know, a community of people or whatever. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Fuck.
Okay.
Where can we find that?
But a common and fundamental right of liberty granted by the Constitution.
Oh. Anyway, so it was saying that political subdivisions of the state cannot require licenses, but the state itself can. States can and do in the United States require driver's licenses in all 50 states, but you can't have a special community or city driver's license. Fennikagami says, I understand the something like making it illegal to lie makes people nervous because then who determines the truth? Can they be trusted? Counterpoint, we already know where lying with impunity gets you, the hell we're currently living in. I refuse to believe there's no way we can improve the situation. We probably can't completely fix it, but there's got to be a better system than we come up with. There probably needs to be more social consequence for lying. But anytime anyone gets near the idea of making lying or, like, being incorrect, which it's hard to tell the difference between those two often, bad area to go. Bad area to go. The fallacy you're looking for is called the definist fallacy. Okay.
Okay.
Where can we find that?
The use of the automobile, I got pages and pages and pages. I carry a folder in my pickup like this that is about that thick. And no cop can argue with it. It's got Supreme Court decisions, it's got case law, it's got everything.
We've seen how that goes on sovereign citizen traffic stop. It never works.
What is case law, by the way?
Already determined cases.
No, it's the opine, the opinion of a judge. It's somebody's opinion. Do you understand no matter what side of the fence you're on, or what subject you're arguing about, you can find case law that supports your opinion? Okay? What do attorneys get taught in law school? Case law, case law, case law, case law. That's it. I've proved to attorneys before that they didn't learn the law in law school.
I would love to talk to those attorneys.
See, there's three types of law. There's superior law, supreme law, and corporate bylaws. That's it. Supreme law is laws given to us by God. They're unalienable. Okay? They're the
That has nothing to do with secular law.
10 Commandments and more. It's not just 10, guys. That's just the most important ones. Okay? They're unalienable. Supreme law, and the whole reason we have state and federal Supreme Courts, is our constitutions and our treaties. Those are supreme laws. The purpose of the Supreme Court is to see if a lower court decision conforms to the constitutions and treaties of the United States of America. That's
It's also the court of original jurisdiction for lawsuits between states.
their only job. When the Supreme Court hears a case, and by the way, you got a 5% chance of getting a case before the Supreme Court. 5%, that's it. Out of all the ones that are submitted, only 5% get heard.
Kind of surprised it's even that high. Is that number even still accurate? It feels like it'd be way lower than that.
But their only job is to see if the decisions of the lower courts conform to our constitutions and treaties. Do you know that's we the people's job? It's not up to them. We're supposed to nullify them. We're supposed to nullify them through our juries, and we're supposed to nullify them every time we get a letter in the mail that's addressed to our all caps name. When you get a letter in the mail, you have a 72-hour right to rescind.
Again, no, that's for contracts. It has nothing to do with you getting a letter or a summons you don't like. One sec. Mr. Blast asked, didn't you show a Sovsit video where the court had paperwork typed up with upper and lowercase letters and the Sovsit got all snotty about the special paperwork they typed up? I do not remember that. It's possible, but we do a lot of Sovsit streams, so I don't know.
To correct the errors our public servants make and to educate them so they don't do it again. That's your job. That's all of our jobs. And you know what we haven't done the last 100 years?
Yes, he's claiming you have 72 hours to deny the ticket. He's trying to make it sound like a ticket is a contract that you can rescind. You cannot.
We haven't corrected any of their errors. They make these tremendous, they call clerical errors, and we don't correct them. Then we acquiesce. Government operates through the consent of the governed. What does that mean? That means they presume something.
It means that generally the society that has a government should be approving of the things the government does. Otherwise, in what way is it their government? It's an Enlightenment idea, right? That people should have a say in the way that they're governed, and that the people who govern should be held to account by the people. That's true. Not the thing you're doing, though, which isn't a generally popular idea. If it was, you could just get people in the legislature to pass things that you agree with, but you don't have the majority on your side, or even a significant plurality, so you have to go and scam people instead.
See if you guys can see this. They presume something. They assume something. They get your
This is something you'll notice that Cameron uses a lot, this idea of presumptions and assumptions.
or tacit agreement that you're a citizen, person, and a resident, so you need CPR. And then they use hearsay to convict you, put you in jail, charge you a fine or a fee or a tax or whatever it may be. They say it's to tax the poor, which might not otherwise be taxed. So they lead you down a path. They railroad you. What is the legal definition of the term railroad? To lead someone down a narrow path or rail to a predetermined outcome or conclusion. Predetermined.
Speaking of Cameron, any news on him lately? Not really.
How do I know it's predetermined?
He's gotten way less interesting. I haven't seen him get in any sort of altercation with the police in months.
I'll tell you my best confirmation of it. About 5 years ago, in the 9th District Federal Courthouse in front of Judge Mosman, the lead judge of the 9th District, which was known as the most liberal district of our federal courts, I brought a case.
As we all know, it's illegal to be liberal.
And the case I brought was basically, there was a grandmother who was found guilty, before I met her, by a jury. She was tried and found guilty of 4 felony counts of fraud.
What's the legal definition of railroad? I'll look.
She did nothing wrong. Nothing. But they spent 4 days in a trial railroading her, and then gave her half a day to defend herself, and denied all of her witnesses, denied all of her evidence. What's she going to do then?
I'm going to assume that either this is a story he completely manufactured from whole cloth, which is not outside of the realm of possibility for him. He does that all the time. Or the evidence and witnesses she wanted to call had no relevance to the case. I've seen sovereign citizens do this before, where they try and subpoena a bunch of witnesses that have absolutely nothing to do with the case, or they will try to submit evidence that does not comply with the rules of evidence for that particular state, and then they complain about it and act like they're being ruled against unjustly, not understanding that if you had a lawyer, they would help you get these things.
Have a right to defend yourself? Don't you have a right to face your accusers?
You do, and I imagine she did.
They didn't care. They basically told her she had no rights. She couldn't bring the Constitution up in the courtroom. They did the same thing to Shauna Cox and Ryan Bundy, the Bundy.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a thing that happened. They may have been barred from making erroneous legal arguments, because that is part of the job of the judge, is to be the gatekeeper to make sure that matters of law are settled correctly within the course of the trial. That's their job, is to determine matters of law, right? So if she was making claims about the Constitution that are not based in law, but instead sovereign citizen stuff, they could have barred her from making those arguments in front of a jury because they're not lawful. I assume that's what happened, if this story is even based on a real event.
They said, don't bring that Bible into the courtroom. Don't bring that Constitution into the courtroom. Why did they say that?
Separation of church and state?
No, it's because you're not a party to it. Did you know that?
The Bible has absolutely nothing to do with your trial. You can bring one into a courthouse if you want, but citing it has nothing to do with anyone's case ever.
Did you know that you guys aren't a party to the Bible? And you're not a party to the Constitution?
What does that mean?
Ah, I'm about to tell you. Give me just a moment. So let me finish with Judge Mosman for a minute. What I proved with Judge Mosman is that there's two governments. That there's a de jure government of we the people, where we the
Railroad, to transport by train, to send a measure hastily through a legislature so that there is little time for consideration and debate. 3, to convict a person hastily, especially by false charges or insufficient evidence.
the people lay down the law and a government steps outside of their scope and authority of the law in which we the people lay down, then they're committing felonies. They're committing emoluments violation. Okay? That's Article 1, Section 6, Clause 8 of the Constitution, an emolument violation. What is an emolument? Anybody know? It's where we pay them to do something that we lay down, that we tell them what to do, and they act outside of that scope and authority, and they collect a fee from us. It's not part of their job description.
Aren't emoluments any benefit you get from a certain job? We have emoluments clauses that basically say that public officials should not be taking benefits outside of the scope of their role, like they can't be taking bribes and stuff effectively. But what money do you think they're getting?
It's not part of the law in which we lay down, and they act outside of that. Therefore, they commit emolument violations. They're stealing from us, from the public,
They're not.
that they're getting paid by to do something we didn't tell them to do or didn't give them authority to do. That's what an emolument violation is. I also proved
That's a warped view of emoluments.
that judges and prosecutors get a net retention or a commission for finding someone guilty.
No, they don't. Judges and prosecutors do not get paid any extra money for finding people or having people found guilty by the judge. That's not a thing.
A commission. And I also proved that they share that with the defense attorney
Only a guilty verdict?
for a guilty verdict.
Well, it behooves them to find-
Now, what is a guilty verdict? What is a guilty verdict? What do they do when they arraign you? They want you to plead guilty or not guilty. Really?
Or no contest.
Did you know those are both commercial terms? Guilty
No,
and not guilty is both commercial terms. Did you know that
those aren't even the terms that are used in civil lawsuits that are commercial. That's liability, liable or not liable. Like, what are you talking about?
property on land,
Guilty and not guilty are specifically criminal phrases or criminal terminology.
industrial, commercial, and residential are all commercial terms?
How many people are in the audience? Probably between 1 and 2 dozen.
Who owns a house? No, you don't.
You don't really own now.
You don't own your house. The state owns your house. They can do anything they want with it. You know why? Because the county came along with a bunch of people who were compartmentalized legal idiots.
This is where we get into some of the stuff Spinda got into that made her lose her house.
And they stole your property on behalf of the state
Caused her to forfeit her house, might be better wording.
from you. And you didn't correct the errors, so therefore you acquiesced. I was telling you about Ken Cromer. His house was foreclosed on by the court. Kicked out of his house. He lived with somebody else. Through the mercy of someone else, him and his wife lived for 10 months somewhere else. And I got him back into his house. How did I do that?
With a lock-picking kit?
I helped him get his land back in under the original land patent and accept the grant deed, and no government can deny that or kick you out of your home.
Yes, they can. Land patents aren't a thing in the modern world in the United States. I don't know about other countries, I guess. We don't use land patents.
If you own your property. It's called a superior title. Superior title.
How do you get your superior title?
What's that?
How do you get your superior title?
Well, that's later on in the class. Okay. See, most people have a warranty deed, and a warranty deed is called an abstract of title. I used to own 20% of a title company, and I didn't know this when I owned it. Yeah. Had a real estate company, 2 mortgage companies, a building supply company, 3 development companies, a construction company with 96 employees. I had a specialty building supply company at one time. I was doing pretty well.
Wow, he just does everything, doesn't he? I bet all those claims are true. James with a $10 super chat says, thanks for the dictionary read. It's interesting to be able to cross-chat with Twitch now. Curious to see how the stream displays super chats. Keep on keeping on. I will do my best.
And I didn't know all this, so they took it away from me. Took everything away from me. Sure. Sure. Did you know all mortgages in the United States are fraud? Every one of them.
Again, this is stuff that Kat really believes in. It's untrue. Ashley One Up with 41 months says, late to the party, had a nice night out, but glad to see Hannah to welcome me home. Well, welcome home. Glad you had a good night.
Everyone is fraud. Did you know your mortgage was paid off? Your mortgage was paid off the moment you signed the mortgage application and they accepted it.
No, that's untrue. That is a false claim. I know that I said I wouldn't just be saying, no, that's not true, but this is very important because it ruins people's lives. That is not true. You need to pay your mortgage. It is a contract you signed about 1 million times. I have a mortgage. If you have a mortgage, you know how many times you signed and initialed. You initial a lot. You could not agree to a contract more than the amount of times they make you sign a mortgage agreement. You signed a contract for a loan for a house. They provided the money. You get to live in the house. The money they provided you paid for the house initially, and now you need to pay them back. Now they can take that debt and sell that debt to be bundled into a bond with other mortgages. That's a thing, but nonetheless, that initial promissory note of the mortgage is still the debt you owe. You owe however much the mortgage was. That debt can be sold around to different people, different companies, different bond packages, but nonetheless, the debt exists. That's what gives the promissory note value, is the fact that you are legally obligated to pay it. It is not paid off magically. You owe the money.
You know who paid it off? You did. See, you're not a debtor, you're a creditor. You just don't know it.
Again, bullshit.
You don't know it. They want you to think you're a debtor and that you're indebted to them. Your signature paid off that loan immediately. And you don't know why, do you? Okay, I'm going to teach you guys why. I'm giving you, what I'm doing right here is it's called a tease. I'm teasing you with a lot of little things that we're going to cover later in depth. Okay? But I'm trying to wake you up right now. Wake you up to things you don't know. But you can go through this whole thing, and it's case law, Supreme case law, everything, of why you don't need a driver's license to drive. Okay? Now, there are 3 cases where you do need a driver's license. When you're hauling passengers for hire. Are you an Uber driver, Lyft driver, a taxi driver, a bus driver? You need a driver's license. Are you hauling goods or services for interstate commerce? A truck driver, you need a driver's license. Are you a public servant in the performance of your public duties? A cop, a fireman, driving a fire truck, whatever. An ambulance driver, you need a driver's license. But if you're just getting up in the morning, leaving your house, going to the store, going to work.
When does he start charging for this info? He already did. He charges people to come into the conferences, I think. Everyone pays for entry to this little thing. This is a multi-day seminar. I think this was a 3-day seminar he put on in Utah somewhere. Tons of his seminars are online, but this is just one. How many days did he do the Utah one? Yeah, looks like he did 2 days in Utah, couple in Arizona. Yeah, he charges, or used to charge. He's dead now, but he used to charge for that.
Going to a movie, coming home, doing whatever it is you do, you're in your private business affairs. You don't need a driver's license. That's what. What about a title? You don't own your car.
That makes sense because they think, oh, good, the good info is coming tomorrow. I've watched day 2, and it gets crazier. I assume day 1 is a testing ground for him to kind of get people primed for the even crazier, more conspiratorial stuff. He starts getting into aliens and stuff at one point. I think day 1 is filtering out anyone who can smell the scam from a mile away. Day 1 is to weed out people who this is just not going to work on at all. Day 2, he assumes the people that show up for the second day are already bought in, and he ramps it up even more.
You don't own a car. No, you don't. You have a certificate of title. You don't own your car either. The state owns it. See, here's the thing. All right, let's tell you a little story. I happen to like Chevy, crew cab, long bed, Duramax diesel trucks because I like farming and ranching. Okay? Yeah.
Show us how to own our car, right?
If I walk into a Chevy dealership, it's called an automobile dealership, right? It's not called a motor vehicle dealership
No one calls it either of those. They call them car dealerships.
because it's not a motor vehicle when they sell it to you. It only becomes a motor vehicle when you title, license, and register it. Before that, it's an automobile. It's private.
Trying to play little semantic games so they think they can legally steal shit.
Who was our first car insurance company in the United States? It was called Travelers Insurance.
I'm surprised that one doesn't come up more for sovereign citizens. That's an easy little, easy to remember talking point. That feels like the kind of thing they'd be throwing out at traffic stops. Hey, Cave Null, how's it going?
It was designed for travelers. That's what we are. We're travelers. We travel from point A to point B in our private business affairs 99% of the time. Okay? You walk into an automobile dealership, if I laid out $75,000 cash for a brand new crew cab Duramax diesel pickup, and it might be 80 by now, at that moment in time, I own that truck. But the minute the salesman looks at me and says, I need another $250 for title, license, and registration, please, and I give him another $250 instead of
He's about to recommend people commit fraud. Watch.
that stack of $75,000, that's the moment I gifted that pickup to the state. So what I do is I look at them and I say, no, that's not necessary. I'm going to export it to a foreign country. And then when I get in and I turn the key and I drive it off of their lot, I'm driving it out of the state of Oregon into Oregon. I just exported it into a foreign nation. Yeah.
Like, again, I'm not trying to insult the intelligence of the people in the audience. I know many of them are probably desperate. But you have to be pretty bad at critical thinking skills or vastly overestimate your own intelligence compared to the rest of society for you to think that that would work. Like, how stupid do you think society is that you think that that semantic argument will fly instead of being seen as the direct fraud that it is? It's like they're children that don't know that other people have, like, a lot of experience and aren't gonna fall for the most basic bullshit available. It's like the thinnest veneer of a scam, and they think that it's brilliant. It's kind of fascinating. I'm curious why they can't see the ridiculousness of this on the face of it.
The manufacturer's statement of origin is in that little envelope that comes with your truck. When you pay the $250, he removes that. He fills it out. He sends it to the state. He sent the state the title, and you get a certificate. A certificate means there's a title out there somewhere.
Oh, this guy again, past tense, used to charge people for legal services too. So you would hire him on to basically be a lawyer for you, even though he's not an attorney and he has no legal education whatsoever. So that's another way he would make money, is through the unlawful practice of law, which is a crime.
But you
But again, he's dead, so, you know, whatever.
don't have it. You don't have it. You don't own these cars.
How does that work if you get pulled over?
If you own your car, they can't do anything to you.
Yeah, but you don't have a license plate.
Wait, by the time we're into this 3-day thing, you're going to be blown away. I'm telling you. Okay? See, the reason I talk so much about driving and automobiles is because that's usually the first place any one of us gets into trouble in our life. We get a ticket or something else. But it's usually associated with driving or operating a motor vehicle by a person, a citizen, or a resident. So what is the legal definition of the word citizen? City is municipal. Zen is servant. A municipal servant. Isn't that what our public servants are? We're calling ourselves the same thing we're calling our public servants. We registered with the Department of Human Resources, with the HR department of the state of, by the way, where's the state of Utah located?
Washington, D.C.
44 Northwest Congress Avenue, Washington, D.C. Okay? It's not even in Utah. Utah's a foreign nation to the state of Utah.
No, they're the same thing.
What about the city of Riverton? That's a subsidiary of the county of Salt Lake County, which is a subsidiary to the state of Utah. They're all private for-profit entities. Bill Clinton revealed that to everybody. He sold
Was he ever charged while he was alive? No, a lot of what... He didn't start getting popular until around 2020. which really worked to his advantage because most of his work was done over COVID once 2021 came around. So most of the time he was going to these smaller towns or areas that were more conservative, let's say, and he was getting people together during COVID where everything was slowed down. You know what I mean? It was unlikely he was going to get got during COVID, and then by the time we're kind of past the COVID era, he was already dead. So he just was kind of this flame that sparked up in 2020, helped spread this to way more people by including the sovereign citizen stuff with a lot of QAnon rhetoric, which he'll get more into in day 2 with child trafficking allegations. He puts on CPS. He did not die from COVID. He died of cancer. But it was kind of when COVID was wrapping up. I mean, it's still around, but when I say wrapping up, you know, I mean like the pandemic and everyone wearing masks all the time and the social distancing. The era wherein things were different from the norm, more or less.
Off all of government. Everything is a private for-profit entity. Everything that wasn't
Can
already.
I explain why Utah isn't Utah? He is claiming that there are at least 2 entities by the name of Utah, the state of Utah and Utah, the actual land. He is saying that the state of Utah is a fictional corporate entity and is separate from the actual land of Utah, which is a real thing.
Previously sold off, which was most of it to begin with. He sold off what was left.
He's trying to draw a distinction basically between the political entity that is Utah, the state, from the actual land mass that is Utah.
A private for-profit entity. It has a Dun & Bradstreet number. Anybody know what Dun & Bradstreet is? It's a credit reporting agency for corporations, right? So
not just corporations. I've had to look this up multiple times because this is a claim sovereign citizens make. Various countries, cities, municipalities also have these numbers, because I don't know if you know this, credit scores are a thing that lots of entities need, because even states, countries, localities borrow money, but they don't have like a personal credit score like a human being, so these entities are scored through these analytic companies like Dun & Bradstreet. So yes, the majority of the numbers on file for Dun & Bradstreet are for private for-profit corporations, frankly because there's just a lot more of those than there are countries and stuff. So countries, municipalities, some of them do have those Dun & Bradstreet numbers. You don't have to be a private company in order to have one.
if they've got a Dun & Bradstreet number, that means they're a corporation, right? What does the Supreme Court say? It says, since governments have chosen to incorporate, they must follow the same rules as any other corporation. Well, wait a minute. Can a guy wearing a Walmart shirt, little blue shirt, come into your house, kick your door down, and steal your kids?
Does Walmart have a monopoly on violence?
What would you do? Well, wait a minute. City of Riverton Police is a private for-profit entity, a corporation with a Dun & Bradstreet number. They're no different than Walmart. They operate through the consent of the governed. They have to get your tacit agreement that you're a citizen or person or resident.
There's no agreement necessary. There are a series of like facts that exist that cause for someone to be considered a citizen. Either their parents are citizens or they're born in U.S. jurisdiction, like on U.S. property inside the United States. I think it's military bases and embassies around the world are also technically U.S. territory. It's not about agreeing or not. It's about a series of facts. Ashley One-Up says, somehow I imagine Harcourt Fenton Mudd trying, Kirk, I wasn't warping through space, I was traveling. He wouldn't believe it, but he'd try the con.
What is the legal definition of the word person? An entity or a vessel? An entity or a vessel. What is the legal definition of the word resident? Someone there temporarily to do business. What's your zip code, Jody?
84069.
Now I gotta look up the legal definition of resident.
By writing that on the letter to your grandmother, by writing your zip code on the letter to your grandmother, you just told the United States Postal Service, and what are our courts? Post offices. See, I already teased you with that, right? They're banks and post offices. So by writing this on the letter to your grandmother, you just told the Postal Service, our court system, that you'll inhabit, that you live in Washington, D.C., and that you just reside in Riverton temporarily to do business. So there's 337 million people in the United States who live in Washington, D.C., and about 40,000 state nationals who live in the rest of the states. But you guys just move in temporarily to do business all around us. How do you feel about that? Huh? Yeah, it's the truth.
But you write a letter, I still put brackets around the zip code.
Ah, why did you put brackets around the zip code?
Put it back where it belongs.
No, to remove it from the contract. It's called the boxing rule.
Brackets would be the equivalent of.
Four corners. The four corners rule, the boxing rule. Brackets have four corners. 5 years.
Resident, affiliated with or working for a particular person or company, residing agent. 2, dwelling in a place other than one's home on a long-term basis, the hospital's resident patient. Oh, sorry, wrong one. That was resident adjective. This is resident noun, which is what he's talking about. Someone who lives permanently in a particular place. Specific, a person who has established a domicile in a given jurisdiction. That's the opposite of what he said. That's the opposite of what he said. I'm almost starting to think he's a liar. Steve with a Q says, the mud impression deserves more bits. Thank you.
Years ago, I was made an ambassador for the Voice of Youth program. Voice of Youth was a part of the World Benefit Church. The World Benefit Church was...
I always feel like for some reason my brain will forget that mud isn't in Trials and Tribulations. Because doesn't that, not Trial and Tribulations, that's the Deep Space Nine episode. The Trouble with Tribbles. It surprises me, because doesn't that feel like a Harry Mudd episode? Like, doesn't it feel like he'd be the guy that's selling the Tribbles? But it's not. It's a different guy, completely. But it feels like that was written for Harry Mudd. Hydrate, will do. Alright, continuing.
Was put into place for one reason and one reason only. Not to have a congregation and preach the gospel, but to educate world leaders on God's laws, on what's right and what's wrong. It's the only reason they were put into place. The Voice of Youth program was put into place to be the voice of people who couldn't speak for themselves, our minors. What is the legal definition of the word minor? It's someone under the age of 18, right? We all know that part of it.
Okay, I'll pull it up. I wish this book had a Control F.
Or, this part we don't know, someone of any age who hasn't claimed their minor estate. Have you claimed your minor estate? You're a minor. Have you? Have you? Did you even know you had a minor estate? What if I told you you were worth millions of dollars and you didn't even know it?
This is where they get into the Cestui Que Trust stuff. So are you saying if they haven't done this sovereign citizen bullshit, they're a minor and therefore can't drink, can't drive, can't rent a car, can't smoke?
And what if I could prove it to you? And that
That'd
you have
be
a
impressive.
trust fund, and you're all trust fund babies. And that trust fund is worth hundreds
If everyone's a trust fund baby, then no one is.
of millions of dollars. And so when you signed that mortgage, they borrowed out of your trust fund and paid it off. And then you just keep paying it back, and paying it back, and paying it back. Why is that? 5 years ago, as ambassador of Voice of Youth, I gave a speech at The Hague.
He did not ever give a speech at The Hague. I looked into this. I really shouldn't have, because there's no reason to believe that he would ever have given a speech at The Hague. But being a skeptic, I thought I'd at least give him a fair shot. There's no mention of him ever visiting The Hague, much less speaking there. There's no mention of it. There's no evidence of it. It did not happen. He is just lying to try and lend himself credibility that he does not deserve.
And I told our world leaders the story of a mother.
Why were all the world leaders at The Hague? Why didn't you just talk to them at the UN General Assembly? Why would they all be at The Hague, you fucking weirdo?
And the story of a mother, I was told afterwards from just about everybody that this is the most important story that should be told every man, woman, and child on earth, but that they don't want me to tell it. You never tell me not.
Minor, someone who has not reached full legal age, a child juvenile under 18 years of age, also termed infant. Nothing to do with minor estates is in there.
not to do something that's right, because then I'm going to tell it over and over and over again. Okay? A mother, 9 months pregnant, pay close attention to this, guys. I'm telling you, it's important for your life, your children's lives, your grandchildren's lives, for generations to come. But a mother, 9 months pregnant, walks into a foundling hospital. What is the legal definition of the word foundling? It's a safe place to abandon a child. Did you know all churches, all hospitals, all police stations, and all fire stations in the United States are designated as foundling by Congress? You could take a baby and put it in a basket and walk into any of those 4 locations and set that basket down on the floor and smile and wave and walk out without any consequences to yourself whatsoever. Can you even imagine that? That you can abandon a child? But they designated those places as foundling hospitals. Did they tell you?
On the bright side, the kind of person who would want to abandon a child is the exact kind of person who shouldn't be a parent, so probably make it a good choice.
On a brass plaque somewhere in an obscure location inside the hospital, probably under a stairwell, it says this hospital is a foundling hospital.
Founding or foundling?
That's so funny to me that he's like, this conspiracy is predicated upon every hospital secretly being a foundling hospital and secretly having a plaque somewhere that determines that that's what it is.
Foundling hospital. So a mother, 9 months pregnant, walks into a foundling.
Yes, foundling hospitals are orphanages, but he's going to use the fact that the word hospital is in it to confuse his marks, because his marks are giving him money to lie to them to make them feel better and give them ideas that make them feel good, but ultimately aren't true.
Foundling hospital. She goes through a major medical procedure called childbirth, where she's in pain and under duress. She's probably under the influence of painkillers of some type. You got to be pretty tough to give birth. I wouldn't want to do it. Anyway, she has that beautiful baby, and all she's thinking about is getting home with it and leaving. But see, the baby in history, throughout history, came out of the water, was tugged through the birth canal, was docked at the dock by the dock tender, where a bill of lading was filled out and received on the cargo, where its soul was taken, its soul plates, the footprints of the baby. The placenta was taken. Okay?
Gish Gallop. Gish Gallop word salad.
The baby's soul, and they sent it out with a tug, and is presumed dead and lost at sea until it should return and claim its minor estate.
None of these word games and word association and like what's the word now? Etymological determinism has nothing to do with anything. This is just horseshit. Stone Corbell says he's so good at just rapid-fire nonsense. I think that's why he was so successful. He's confident, he can fire it off, it's all nonsense, but if you just accept it, like, completely credulously, it sounds like, wow, this guy has a lot of information.
No physician delivers a baby. Only a doctor does.
They're synonyms. Every doctor that delivers a baby is also a physician. Definitionally, they're synonyms.
Doctor is dock tender. The baby is a
It's not. That's not where the word doctor comes from.
vessel, a ship. That's where the all caps name comes in. If you look at the names of ships, they're in all capital letters. Okay? No one disclosed the terms and conditions of the contract, yet you were handed a stack of papers to fill out, and you were only told, and this was right out of the nurse's manual, this is just to register your baby with the state and to give it a name.
Because that's what it is.
And you fill out the paperwork, and you name your baby, and you sign as an informant. What is the legal definition of the word informant?
In this case, it's just the person giving up information. It's the person providing information. You don't need the legal definition of informant here, because it's not in a legal context. They're literally saying, the person giving the information. They don't mean a police informant.
Someone who gives someone else up to another, thereby giving the title and equity of your child to the state. This creates a doctrine called parens patriae. Yes, I should write that.
The state doesn't own your child. Your child just also has rights. And if you're abusive or neglectful, the state will step in to protect your child's rights.
It's Latin for state is your parent. State is the parent. Creates a doctrine of parens patriae Through this doctrine, that's how they have control over you. And through your consent of being a citizen, a person, a resident. 3 things you never want to be. I hope that chair's not too comfortable. I don't want to see you doing that now. All right, I'll throw something at you. Anyway, the doctrine of parens patriae. So, no terms and conditions of the sales contract were given. No full and honest disclosure of the contract. No 2 wedding signatures. No one there was security
It's not a contract, so none of these factors matter.
licensed, insurance licensed. No prospectus was given. If you go to your stockbroker and you want to invest in a corporation, he is required by law to give you a prospectus, right? And you weren't given one.
You want a prospectus for your baby?
What I'm trying to teach you here is it was all done through fraud without any full and honest disclosure of the contract.
There's no
You were
contract.
licensed, bonded, insured. Your vessel was created. A Cestui Que Trust was created. A Cestui Que Trust is an individual trust underneath the umbrella of the Public Charitable Trust. So the Public Charitable Trust Act of 1882 created the Public Charitable Trust. The Cestui Que Trust Act created the Cestui Que Trust, each individual trust that you all have through your birth certificate and registration. On your birth certificate, there's a bank name. It's on bond paper. There's a CUSIP number, C-U-S-I-P number. What is a CUSIP number? It's an investment control number that's regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. If you were born between 1933 and 1975, you were bonded for $630,000 and insured for $1 million. If you were born after 1975, you were bonded for $1 million and insured for $2 million.
So it's a so better.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's just the initial investment. It's an initial upfront investment. You were a few days old, right? So like me, I was born on April 20th, on 4/20.
Nice.
I knew there would be one in the crowd.
Whoa, there's someone at a sovereign citizen event who's way too into drugs? That's crazy.
And my vessel was created on 5/3. 2 different dates, 2 different events. My vessel was born on May the 3rd.
He has the same birthday as Hitler.
I was born on April 20th. For that period of time, I was a state national. In fact, I was a Californian. I was born in California, and I was a state national. I was a free, independent, one of we the people for that long.
You were born on U.S. soil. You're a citizen of the United States. The second you popped out of your mom, you were a citizen of the United States.
And then I got registered, and I became a citizen, a person, and a resident. And I lost all my diplomatic immunity. I lost it all. I became a servant, a slave. See, the 13th Amendment of the Constitution freed the black slaves, and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution made all of its slaves.
No, that's something that Brandon Joe Williams, another sovereign citizen guru, focuses on a lot. It's not true. The 14th Amendment made sure that all people in the United States that are citizens are treated equally, at least in theory. That's the idea. We are all supposed to have the same rights under the law, regardless of whether or not you are a white person, black person, whatever. You are a citizen of the United States. You are entitled to the same rights as everyone else.
See, there's a maximum law that says that in which one creates, one controls. God created me, and he controlled me. And then, unknowingly, while under duress, without any full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract, with no one even licensed to explain it available, my mother warded me to the state in a birth ward. I became a ward of the state. Why do you think a birthing ward is called a ward?
Not for the reason you're implying.
I became a ward of the state, a ward of the court, under the doctrine of parens patriae. I became a slave, and I didn't even know it. I grew up thinking I was free. I fought for this country. I thought I was free. I got shot. I thought I was doing it for the right reasons, so I was free. Now I teach veterans how to get rid of PTSD, and I can do it in
Oh my god.
20 minutes.
Did you hear that? Sorry, this whole diatribe he does on PTSD is really frustrating, just so you know. So fair warning.
I grew up thinking I was free. I fought for this country. I thought I was free. I got shot. I thought I was doing it for the right reasons, so I was free. Now I teach veterans how to get rid of PTSD, and I can do it in 20 minutes. I know guys that have been going to psychologists for years and taking drugs for years trying to get rid of their PTSD, and it destroys their wives and their families and themselves, and I can solve it in 20 minutes.
Yes, please.
How? I explain a little something that's
Is he lying about his service too? I actually don't know. I didn't look up his military service.
off track. So would you do me a favor? Remind me to tell you, okay? It's very important. All right. What happens? What happens at our birth with the Cestui Que Trust? First of all, we have a PCT, Public Charitable Trust, an umbrella. There's 337 million little CQVs.
What's his name again? David Strait.
Cestui Que Trust, one for each of us, right? In this country.
Say that one more time. CQV.
Every individual in the United States, and in most countries of the world, have a Cestui Que Trust. And we have this CQV. And here's what happens, and this is incredibly important. Y'all know basic accounting? What is that? It's a balance sheet, right? A balance sheet. It's got debits and credits. You guys have been thinking you're the debtor. They keep telling us that, right? We're in debt, we're a debtor. We owe money on credit cards, we owe money on our houses, we owe money on everything. What happens at birth, though, and I'm just going to use the figures from 75 to now because it's round numbers. We were bonded for $1 million. What does that mean? That means the bank went to the International Monetary Fund, and the bank, on behalf of the public, under your CUSIP number, borrowed from the International Monetary Fund $1 million in ones, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds, and they threw it out there into the general public. They distributed that $1 million to the bank for every person who's born. That's what they do. On the credit side, $1 million worth of United States Treasury bonds are issued, and they're sold. They're hypothecated. They are bundled, and they're sold on the stock exchange. And
You think that the US bond market is specifically backed by each individual American's birth certificate? No. That's not the backing behind United States bonds.
And if we wanted to, I could pull up a website if we had internet access, and I could put in one of your CUSIP numbers, and I could show you the companies that are buying and selling you today. You have more than one CUSIP number, by the way. As we increase in value, I'll just put it that way, as we get better in our life, the more we join the military or get more college degrees, we get more and more CUSIP numbers. You are the credit. You are the creditor. They're making you believe you're also the debtor, and you are. You're both. This is your vessel. This is you. Okay? This is your labor. This is your worth. I got 5 college degrees. Every time I got an advanced degree in college,
Yeah, I'm gonna call bullshit on that.
I got a new CUSIP number.
What are your 5 college degrees, David?
So in the military, I got a new CUSIP number.
Let me look up if he ever said exactly what his college degrees are in.
All these CUSIP numbers are attached to my main birth number. Okay? This isn't a bad spot. Anyway, let's stop here. It's a balance sheet, right? It's balanced. It's got $1 million on one side, $1 million on the other. This gets invested. It keeps growing and growing and growing. And let's just say it grows to $100 million. And by the way, that figure's low. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Really? I've seen individuals worth $35 billion or more.
Sorry, didn't mean to pause
Didn't
that.
know they had a dime.
Oh, by the way, we are halfway through the stream, so do me a favor if you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. If you want to help support the stream, you can always do so with super chats and memberships on YouTube and subscriptions and bits on Twitch.
Okay, it keeps growing and growing and growing. Our first 18 years of life, we're not spending anything. So nothing is going over here, our first 18 years. That's growing and growing and growing for 18 years, and it's being hypothecated and traded, and they've done a good job of managing it. They really have. First 18 years, it's growing and growing and growing. You're not spending anything. You're not adding anything to the debit side. Then you go get a job, and you get married, and you go out and you buy a house.
Yeah, I can't find any specifics about what he's claiming those college degrees are or where he got them. I think it's probably fair to assume it's just total horseshit, like the vast majority of the things that come out of his mouth.
I'm just going to use numbers, and the numbers themselves don't matter. It's the concept, okay? You buy a car or two, you buy some utilities or two over your lifetime, some medical bills, some food, whatever. They keep track of it all through your tax returns, your credit card, your bank statements. Banking is all tied
He did not have a LinkedIn.
into the IMF, the Federal Reserve. We got a big buildings of bean counters called the Department of Fiscal Services, and those accountants just keep track of everything, everybody's life. And this all starts to add up on the debit side. And this just keeps growing and growing and growing on the investment side. At some point in time, you die, and it goes through probate. They take some of this, and let's just say over your lifetime you've spent, I'm going to round it off to $10 million. So they subtract $10 million
Just a Peach with a tip says he has accounting backwards. Debits are money out and credits are money in. That was day one of bookkeeping class I took. Ashley One Up says, when I googled David Lester Strait military record, the first website to come up was called Phony Seal, so prepare yourself for shock. He may be lying.
Out of your investment.
What? This man who's told nothing but lies for the last hour is a liar?
They pay off all this, and it becomes a zero balance. They even pay back the initial loan to the International Monetary Fund, plus interest. That was a loan. From a foreign entity, by the way, to the Public Charitable Trust. And they pay it back. The balance is zero. Now this has, let's just say for this discussion, has $90 million left in it. What happens to it? The Cestui Que Trust lives on in perpetuity forever.
So it keeps going.
Everyone who has ever died since 1933 is currently funding government.
On YouTube, Christopher asks, out of curiosity with how superstitious and credulous people have become, have you noticed a return of anything like chain letters? Not chain letters specifically, but that kind of thing has still existed in the internet ecosystem pretty much since its inception. But I'm sure you've seen posts that are like this post or share this post to get good luck or money or love or whatever stupid bullshit. It's effectively the social media version of a chain letter, so it still kind of exists.
This money gets reinvested.
I don't know if I've seen any increase in that particularly, but I don't spend a lot of time on like Facebook or any website where people post stuff like that, so I don't know.
They can't take this, but the balance must stay the same forever. But if it keeps earning, they just sweep it off the top, and it funds government. It's called off-book funds. In the states, it's GSA, and in the federal government, it's CQV. And it continues to fund government. Why do you think they don't care if they spend $3 trillion on foreign entities?
Because it's not their money.
It came out of your trusts. It's not part of taxes. In fact, if you took the entire federal budget,
why would they need to take money off of the interest garnered from an account that's primarily based off interest from government bot? Like, what? This whole thing doesn't make any sense.
how much is derived from taxes?
Like, if the government just wanted to perpetually give itself money, it could just do that. It's just going to be a problem with inflation, right? It's effectively what this is. If they were continually doing this, you would just have more inflation. Because the money isn't really doing anything. There's no, like, labor value really being added by anything at this point. It's just numbers that don't accrue based on any actual material change. Again, it's all untrue anyway, so it doesn't matter, but...
If you call up the Department of Fiscal Services and you send a FOIA request, and you ask them, who is the largest contributor to the federal budget? The Department of Justice, to the tune of $1 trillion a day, is taken out of our Cestui Que trusts or our court systems every day.
Even in his story, there's no need for the pot of investment money to be tied to the individual citizen. Yeah, it wouldn't need to be. It would just be one big pot. It wouldn't make any sense. The only reason in the story for it to be tied to individual citizens is to dangle the carrot in front of his scam marks that says, oh, you have this personal account. If you listen to me, give me money, then I can tell you how to access it. Classic scam of you give me a little money and I'll tell you how to make a lot of money.
$1 trillion. That's more in 25 days than our entire gross domestic product in a year. In 25 days. They don't have to disclose the CQV. See, I had to prove this in federal court to get to talk about it. So, a big portion of this comes out of this before we die. Every time you have a court case, the case is a CUSIP number, the case number. The court clerk is the banker. Mary, at the 9th District of Federal Court, I showed how upon indictment, now when someone gets indicted, are they found guilty? No. No, they're not found guilty. They haven't even been tried. But upon indictment, Upon indictment, Mary filled out the SF 273 form with the Department of Fiscal Services, which is called a bid bond form. She told the Department of Fiscal Services with this form to begin liquidation of this person's account, because we're going to need some of it. You got to remember, they're in U.S. Treasury bonds. They're not liquid capital. They have to be sold off. That takes a little bit of time, right? So she filled out that form in this particular case in October. The trial was set for January, didn't happen until April. Upon the day of the trial, the exact day of the trial, Mary filled out the SF 274 form with the Department of Fiscal Services, which is called a performance bond, telling the Department of Fiscal Services that this person has been found guilty and they will have to perform. That's what a performance bond is. It's notifying someone that you're going to have to perform.
You would never have a performance-based outcome in a criminal trial. That would be an equity thing in civil court. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay. This was supposed to take place July 13th. I pushed it to August 30th. Mary filled out the SF 275 form, which is the payment form. It's no different than a wire transfer order. It would have told the Department of Fiscal Services to wire transfer that money to the court. Now, what money am I talking about?
What determines the amount?
The penal sum. So, an indictment is a bill, true bill. If you don't pay the bill, you're brought up on charges. You're tried for those charges.
Again, it's not a bill. It is not a bill as in someone says you owe them money.
In her case, the woman, the grandmother, had 4 felony counts of fraud. Each had a penal sum, each count had a penal sum of $2 million. That's $8 million total. In addition to that $8 million,
this is why sovereign citizens say that judges are making money off of them and cops and everything, by the way. It's because of shit like this that they get told by liars lying.
the judge was going to receive $95,000 in what they call net retention, and the prosecutor $50,000 per count. 4 counts.
That's wrong.
Oh no, because they share that with the defense attorney that she had, that she paid $27,000 out of her pocket to represent her. So what is the legal definition of the word attorney? Anybody know? Not the ones that wash my
I'll look it up.
class. Gotta watch him. An actor to a turn. The legal definition of the word actor is someone who gets up on stage and lies convincingly enough to make you believe in the character and the plot. Therefore, a liar. What is to a turn? To steal from one and turn over to another. So by the very definition of their profession, they're lying.
Attorney, deputy authorized representative, legal representative, used as a past participle noun of a turner, to turn to. Strictly one who is designated to transact business for another, a legal agent. So a turn in this case is meaning to turn to, not to lie? What the fuck? Again, it's almost like he's just a liar. Crazy stuff. And again, people still cite him. This is still, like, stuff that's at the forefront of the sovereign citizen movement.
Liars and thieves. See, God only warned us about 4 professions in the Bible. Do you know what they were?
Attorneys.
Bankers, attorneys,
Tax collectors.
doctors,
Police.
and organized religion. Why did he warn us about organized religion? Joseph Smith warned the Mormon church about organized religion. He said that someday in the future it would be corrupted by men.
Yes. I'm sure Joseph Smith knows a lot about spiritual concepts being corrupted by men. Maybe even first-hand experience. He's in Utah, which is why he's referencing Joseph Smith, of course. He's also, I think, an ex-Mormon. Or at least he claims to be. That could be a lie. Who knows?
He said that. In fact, he says, I doubt it will last 75 to 100 years. And he was right. How many people are not brought up LDS in this room? Just a couple, okay? Sorry, I'm going to talk to you about the church. I grew up LDS. In fact, my mother was born in Lehigh in a one-room log cabin with a dirt floor on the Indian reservation while her dad taught English to the Indians here.
There's a town called Lehigh in Utah.
In 1917. My dad, in the...
Is there a bunch of shit in Utah named after the fake Book of Mormon shit? Of course there is. I never would have considered this. But there's like Moroni Street and shit probably. Oh, fuck.
50s, right after he got out of the war in World War II. He was on a Navy in the USS Texas. He ran the church welfare ranches. He was head of all the church welfare ranches. My family has a long history here. The Bennetts were the contractors for Brigham Young. They built Brigham Young's house. David Bennett's name is on the Church of
It's not unusual for religious towns. I'm aware. It's funny to me specifically in Mormonism because Mormonism is like so obviously bullshit. Like even compared to like other religions, Mormonism is like obviously made up by a con artist quite recently in history, so it's funny people taking it seriously.
Lake. That's my grandfather on my mom's side. My grandmother was born...
Like it would be like if I was near a Scientology building and I saw a street named Xenu Avenue. Like I'd crack the fuck up.
Somewhere in Nebraska along the Platte River in the back of a wagon on their way here. Okay. So I printed off D&C 98. What is the Doctrine and Covenants? Doctrine is the laws the church is to live by. Covenant is a promise to live by those laws. That's why it's called a doctrine and a covenant. They promise to live by these laws.
What was that again?
98. I'm just going to read a little bit, and my eyes are bad, so, and the writing is small. I'm going to start with verse 3. Therefore he giveth this promise unto you with an immutable covenant.
There's an L. Ron Hubbard Street in North Hollywood. See, that doesn't surprise me. And if there was like a Joseph Smith Avenue, that wouldn't surprise me. It's the fact that they're naming shit after the fictional shit in the story that gets me.
That it shall be fulfilled, and all things wherewith you have been afflicted shall work together for your good.
Like it's just random things like that Joseph Smith made up as a con man, and now they're naming towns after it. Makes me wonder how much of life is like that. Like how much of historical narrative is shaped by abject con men who basically won and their version of history or events stuck. Hydrate, will do.
And to my name's glory, saith the Lord. And now verily I say unto you concerning the laws of the land, it is my will that my people should observe to do all things whatsoever I command them. That the law of the land, which is constitutional, supporting the principles of freedom in maintaining rights and privileges, belongs to all mankind and is justifiable before me. And then it moves on. Therefore, I, the Lord, justify you and your brethren in my church in befriending that law, which is the constitutional law of the land. He says, make it your friend. The constitutions. That's our supreme law. And as pertaining to the law of man, whatsoever is more or less than this cometh of evil. I, the Lord God, made you free, therefore ye are free indeed, and the law also maketh you free. Nevertheless, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. Wherefore, honest men and wise men should be sought for diligently, and good men and wise men ye should observe to uphold. Otherwise, whatsoever is less than this cometh of evil. Rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances are not law. What is the legal definition of the word legal?
This is where a lot of these people get the legal versus lawful difference, and again, he's making it up. It is not a definitional difference that applies in the modern day. I don't know if he's just making it up or if he pulled this definition from a very antiquated legal text, but this is not the definition of lawful or legal.
This is going to just kick your butts when I tell you what the definition of the word legal is. It is the undoing of God's law. What is legal is not lawful, and what is lawful is not legal.
Again, not true. Made up.
Let that sink in for just a second. What is legal is the undoing of God's laws. All throughout the Bible, God taught us a lot of things, and I studied the Bible very, very well for a lot of years. And I went to every religion on earth that I could go to. I've been to China, I've sat with the Buddhists, I've been all over this world.
You sat with the Buddhists?
When I
Do you guys think he actually went to China? You think he ever showed anyone a single picture of him in China? Do you think he's ever left the country? So far, he's said he's been to The Hague, to Speak, and China. What are the chances he's never been outside of the continental United States? I think it's pretty high.
I was in intelligence with the government, when they had something that
He does not strike me as the kind of person who likes to travel or learn about new places with different people.
dealt with religion, they sent me. They sent me into the basement of the Vatican with a group of people.
Oh, he's on a secret mission with the Vatican, like the guy from the Da Vinci Code, Robert Langdon? I think that's his name.
When I was in intelligence with the government, when they had something that
He was in intelligence in the government.
dealt with religion, they sent me. They sent me into the basement of the Vatican with a group of people to look at the lost scrolls. And we brought out the United States government.
Listen to the people in the audience too, just going, whoa! Like, how are you so credulous that you just believe every word out of his mouth?
Brought out of the basement the Maccabees, Esther, the Wisdom of Solomon, many books of the Bible that weren't in the Bible. Okay? And there's many more down there. Many more. The Catholic Church suppressed us like you wouldn't believe. They kept so many things hidden from us. There are books of the Bible that reveal exactly what is happening in this world today. And we recorded it. And we know
Can we see this scripture? It lives in Canada at the Vatican. You wouldn't know it.
what it is.
But trust me, the secret Bible books that I had access to in the basement of the Vatican told me I'm right.
And anyway, I'll go into some more off camera. But what I'm trying to tell you, I quit going to church 20 years ago. Doesn't mean I don't believe in the basic core teachings of this church. I do. I think they're the best family-oriented, most common sense church on the face of the planet. But I also know,
Again, he's speaking on Mormonism.
just like Joseph Smith knew, that men would corrupt it at the highest levels. And all you have to do is ask yourself, who of the prophet and the 12 apostles are lawyers?
I'm sorry,
you have to
are the only acceptable professions those that were held by Jesus's disciples now?
Okay?
That's interesting.
When I gave that talk in church, I was removed from the stand, hauled to the bishop's office, talked to, and I never went back. Okay?
They want to do
That's right. That's right. Tell an attorney that statutes aren't law, that what's legal is the undoing of God's laws. He never learned that in law school. So they base everything on a penal sum. No matter what crime it is you have, it's commercial. All crimes are commercial.
Nope, they're criminal.
So they get paid in net retention. Our Department of Justice collects the majority of our federal budget through our CUSIP numbers out of our Cestui Que Trust.
Nope, the majority of revenue for the United States comes from income tax.
And they collect a great deal of that while we're still alive, every time we go to court. In the state courts, it's called the GSA program.
I think it's 50 to 51% of United States revenue comes from individual taxes.
Federal court clerks, if you look at Portland, Oregon's building that pretty much Antifa destroyed, the federal courthouse in Portland.
We got Antifa on the bingo card. Did anyone have Antifa?
5-story building with 2 more stories below ground. Okay? Judge Mosman, he's no longer there, but he had the top floor, him and his aides. U.S. Marshal Service has a bottom floor down the basement. That's the marshals. Then there's 2 more floors of judges and courtrooms, 2 floors. All the rest of this building are court clerks. Court clerks. Why do they need hundreds? I mean, they're in cubicles. Why do they need, this building covers an entire city block. It's a big building. Why do they need so many court clerks?
Because there's a lot of paperwork in court. If you'd actually been to court, you'd know how much paperwork is involved.
They're bank tellers. Mary, the head court clerk, Mary.
And that's not even just considering like the actual criminal or civil law stuff going on. There's all sorts of stuff that get filed in the courts for one reason or another by the clerks. Phoenix 2250 with 43 months says, wow, the Strait really isn't okay.
Runs all the tellers. She's the bank president. She handles all the bonds. The federal courts buy all the state bonds. So everything that happens in the 9th District, which is California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, anything that happens in any of those state courts under the GSAs, the federal government buys them. The federal court buys them from the states. That's what funds the states.
He got arrested in Texas before his passing, despite his claiming he and his adherents were on the do not detain lists. You're telling me he's a liar?
And then they collect out of our trust.
Nemesaur says the epistle to Titus mentions Zarus, the lawyer, is one of the followers of Jesus. Boom. Roasted. Take that, David Strait, you dead bitch.
Through the Department of Fiscal Services. So those people are sitting there in their cubicles, typing on the computer, and they're filling out the SF-273, 274, and 275 forms all day long. Yeah, it's a bank. So when these blue and white lights come on behind you, and you got that policy enforcement revenue collection agent behind you, who the Supreme Court says has no obligation to protect you. No, it's not their duty. It is not the police officer's duty to protect you. Their job title is a policy revenue collection agent. They're to help fund the counties and the cities and the state. They presume you're a citizen, a person, or resident. Your status. This is called status. Anybody know what status is? Did you know there was more than one? Jeez, they just didn't want you to know this crap, do they? See, in Title 8, Section 1101 of the United States Code, it says definitions of statuses. These are the definitions of status that the United States government accepts, right? You can be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. national or a state citizen or a state national or a variety of other things.
A U.S. national is someone who is a resident of the United States but is not... Wait, what is it? What is it? It's a U.S. national. Is it people from Guam? Basically, it's people from U.S. territories? It's been a while since I had to encounter this one and explain the actual, what a actual U.S. national is.
That they accept.
American Samoa, thank you.
But what are you taught? Just to be the one that they have control over. Isn't that crazy? It is status. They presume your status. This government...
Overthought with 100-bit says he's wrong. Status is burn, poison, paralysis, confusion, and freeze.
Works off of unrebutted presumption. Unrebutted presumption. They steal your house by making a lot of clerical errors and you don't correct them and you acquiesce. You just pay the bills. And you don't correct those errors. And they stole it from you on behalf of the state. They steal your car when you go to the dealership and buy one by making a statement with the clerical errors that you fill out, you sign, you consent to, and then they stole your car.
No one stole your car. You're paying a loan that you agreed to. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub and kicking off a hype train, 68% to level 1. If you want to help out the hype train and support the show, you can use bits or subs.
And you didn't even know it. You come home, you tell your family, look at my new car! Smell good? Got that new car?
Oh, I think he's a con artist. I don't think he ever believed this.
Smell so nice? It's the States. You don't.
I would believe that on some like ethical level, he believes that the state shouldn't do anything. Like I could believe that he wishes this is how this worked, so he could say no to governmental authority. But I think he knew that the specifics of these arguments were bullshit, and he was selling them to people for money. Yes, he's dead now. Have
the MSO or the MCO. No, they assume you did something wrong. You did 70 and a 55. Doesn't
M. Scheffler 720 with 100-bit says you're a sub. True.
matter what it is.
True. It's on my driver's license.
They assume you did something wrong. They get your tacit agreement of you being a citizen, a person, a resident. And then they get up on stand and they lie. And your attorney sits there and says, shh, don't say anything. We'll get our chance later. And then the hammer gets dropped and every lie that they said became truth and fact upon the record. You acquiesce to it. And your attorney knew that. He knows he's supposed to object to everything they say. And he sat there and he was quiet. And he told you not to speak because you can't. They can't hear you anyway. You know a judge can't hear you in court? No, they summons you into court. What is a summons? It's a seance. They're wearing black.
No, it's not. It's an official legal notice that you need to go to court.
Robes. This is a satanic ritual. They summon you into court, a seance, calling the dead into court. And there's two ways for you to appear in court. There's only two. It's in the law. There's general appearance. That's where you just show up generally, and you accept jurisdiction by just showing up.
Jurisdiction has nothing to do with your consent. Zero.
I get your tacit agreement of you being a citizen, personal resident. You just show up. They call the dead into court, and there you are. They call out your all caps name, and you don't say, "No, that's not me, Your Honor. That's my vessel. I take ownership of that vessel. I claim the minor estate." You don't say any of that. The first words out of your mouth in a courtroom should be what? Okay, I'm sitting down in the back row. Judge walks in. Bailiff says, "All rise." I lean back on my chair and I put my feet up. I sure ain't going to stand when he walks in. That's giving him jurisdiction.
I haven't seen that one in a while. I think I've seen a few sovereign citizens years ago say something to that effect where they wouldn't stand up for the judge. I don't see that these days. I assume that never went well, and you immediately would have gotten contempt, so they probably dropped that.
When an
Can I look up summons for us? I can.
employee walks into the room, does this boss stand? No. He's my public servant. I have to take control of the court immediately. If you stand, you're the employee, he's the boss. He's getting your tacit agreement. You're turning over jurisdiction to him. Were you in Logan at Cody's deal where we had about 60 people there? Okay, we had about 60 people in Cody Smith's court case in Logan, Utah. And I met with everybody before we went. And I told them, not only do not stand when the judge walks in, but I want you to make a concerted effort to lean back and put your feet up. And they did.
It's interesting that they find that so funny. It's like they find really petty shows of disrespect towards authority to be, how do I explain this? Thrilling? Thrilling is probably the word I'd used. Minute left on the hype train.
There's only one reporter on the other side that stood up. Nobody else did. And then in one voice, when they started running over the top of Cody, we all said, "Let him speak," in one voice.
Summons, a writ or process commencing the plaintiff's action or requiring the defendant to appear and answer. A notice requiring a person to appear in court as a juror or witness. Nemesaur, thanks for gifting 10 Tier 1 subs and saving the hype train. Appreciate ya. We also have a hydrate.
And Cody got to speak. The entire court changed. What I tell people is, rally the troops, get them in there on your behalf. If you can get at least 25 people in the audience doing what I'm just telling you to do, when you stand up there, say, "I'm here by special divine appearance, Your Honor, to call for a constitutional court of record, and I brought a grand jury with me."
I think I've only heard special divine once. It's normally just special appearance. A tip about dust will do. I will take a quick look. Sorry I missed that. Just a Peach with a $1 tip says, "The dead do not go to court unless a breeze blows them in the window." Be a very light, desiccated corpse.
Of my peers,
What is the definition of peers?
like-minded individuals.
No, here's one that's really got screwed up by our bar association. When you call for a jury trial or a trial by jury, what's the difference? Do you guys know?
There isn't one.
Always call for a trial by jury. Why call for a trial by jury?
The trial by jury would not be of your peers.
But the trial by jury, the jury decides your fate. A jury trial, the judge can override the jury's decision and do whatever he wants. And they will try and force you into a jury trial.
Yeah, that's very not true. A judge virtually never is able to overturn the ruling of a jury. It's happened very few times for very specific, extreme reasons, I believe, but that's just not true. Like, the ruling of a jury is pretty much final. You can appeal the case, but the case that you initially had is over. They found you guilty or not guilty, whatever. The judge cannot just easily be like, "All right, I know that they gave a recommendation, but I'm gonna go the other way." Not a thing. Not how that works. That would be an immediate appeal, and it would be a slam dunk appeal.
They will.
That's a definition twist.
Now, here's a definition twist on the word peers. The definition of the word peers is someone from your own neighborhood who knows your character and your situation in life. For only then.
That would be terrible. That's what we call bias. You do not want jurors to have a pre-existing bias for or against the defendant.
Then can you truly judge a man? What do they get? They question the jury because they don't want anybody that even knows you. They want people from other counties.
This is how you end up with little good old boys clubs in towns where a specific group of people get to do whatever they want because they're all supporting each other.
Other areas of the state. They want to rig the trial to railroad you. To railroad is to lead somebody down a narrow path or rail to a predetermined outlook or conclusion, and that's the path. Did that make any sense yet? Oh, the fraud in which we perceive, right? It's ridiculous. And when you stand up from that back row, when they call your name, and the very first words out of your mouth when you stand up and you take your first step is, I'm here by special divine appearance, Judge, to settle this matter, to call for a constitutional court of record, to ask for a summary judgment upon the truth and facts placed upon this record by my documents, and I stand firmly upon my rights. Can I get that summary judgment, Your Honor?
No! I don't even think he's gonna let you get that far in your little speech at the fucking arraignment. Minute left on the hype train.
This thing is over with.
Because they can't give you that.
They have to.
Again, compare this with the hundreds of actual sovereign citizen court videos we've seen, people working off these general scripts and ideas, and how judges have all heard it before and they don't deal with it. It's so different than what he's implying or directly saying is going to happen. He's acting as though the judges will bow down to your immense special knowledge of the truth of the justice system. And it's just horse shit.
Do a summary judgment. The rule of three. Rule of three applies in all things. Celestial, terrestrial, and telestial, right? There's a rule of three. You have to ask them 3 times. And if they have an important question, they're supposed to ask you 3 times. And if not,
Thank you for the hype train, everyone.
what did you say again? See. How does a judge derive their authority? Since you brought it up.
From the state.
Number 1, from his oath of office, right? And any other requirements by the state to hold office. His oath and any other requirements by the state to hold office. That's how he derives his authority. Second, he derives his authority by statute. What did I say a minute ago? That's the worst looking E I've ever seen in my life.
Statutes are laws. Yeah.
The rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances are not law.
Their
Third-
authority comes from the state, sir.
Third, he derives his authority through parens patriae. See, my first 3 questions, the very first document I submit, if we have to go to court, is a notice of appearance. A notice of appearance. I'm going to say, hey, I received this seance in the mail where you're calling the dead entity into court.
There's no dead entity. It's just you. You have been called into court. The flesh and blood being, the con artist himself.
And I'm willing to appear to settle this matter, but I'm going to do it by special divine appearance.
No, you're not in charge, actually, and that's not how any of this works. Now sit down or the bailiff will handcuff you.
As a living soul. See, what does Genesis 2:7 say? Bible scholars in this room, I can see that. Genesis 2:7 says, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, it's just kind of fun. But, and I, God, created man from the dust of the earth, and I breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Are we men or are we living souls? We're living souls.
All right, the judge says, contempt of court. That's from Gavel 2:16. Like, how does he think this is gonna work? The Bible said a thing, therefore the court has no authority.
Our bodies are made up of what?
Energy.
The dust of the earth, and they're held together by energy. The energy of our soul. The celestial, telestial, and terrestrial souls. Which, by the way, they're here helping us right now in a big way.
Any business they
There we go, slipped in the aliens thing.
have of you is with your vessel, but when you're showing up by your divine
Exactly. I'm just here to settle this matter as the executor to the trust.
Okay, well, you can't settle it unless you get an offer from the prosecution that they agree to. So do you want to have a status conference with the prosecutor? Oh no, you just want me to randomly decide that the case has no merit for no legal reason other than you don't like being held accountable for your alleged actions? No!
So therefore, it's not really value here.
Yeah.
That vessel that they can arrest and do all these things to, if it was there.
What I'm doing is breaking through their veil. They're not allowed to even talk to me
Yes.
as a man. They're not even allowed to talk to me. I'm going to break through their veil and educate them.
Create that barrier because if you did something as the vessel, now you are that ward of the court.
His arrest wasn't recorded, was it? I'm sure I would have seen it if it was, but let me double check. Oh my god, I've been watching so much amazing Digital Circus stuff, my homepage is just full of fucking... full of Digital Circus shit! Anyway. Oh, we have his mugshot at least, so that's good. Let me see if the mugshot's there. Yeah, look at that. Apparently they can talk to him and arrest him. And his wife, Bonnie.
Now, if the sheriff takes you away, you're in that system.
What did I say? Genesis 1, 26 through 28. God gave me, man, dominion over the land, the air, and the water, and this is law. I'm going to show you how to take dominion this weekend. And when you take dominion over all three jurisdictions, you are...
Also, to any people who also watch Digital Circus, I'm confused by the fandom a little bit. There's so much fan theorying happening in the Digital Circus community. And I like the show. I really like the show. I'm excited for the finale. But it feels like a pretty straightforward show. So I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed that their various complex fan theories aren't going to come true. Because it doesn't feel like a fan theory show. It feels like a pretty straightforward narrative. But whatever.
Are free. If you jump out of one into another with both feet, they'll destroy you in the other two. All these wonderful patriot groups out there, I love them.
Ashley One Up says Hannah logs into YouTube. The YouTube algorithm screams incoherently.
But they're trying to jump out of two jurisdictions into one. And they go to jail over and over and over again. I watched them do it for 35 years, and then I watch the people behind them not stand up for them when they get there. And I can show you how to be free, so you never get into that position. Okay? That's probably a good time. So I formed 3 questions out of this to the judge in my notice of a special appearance. I say, Judge, or Your Honor, do you claim to derive your authority over me based upon your oath of office and any other requirement of the state? Yes or no? May I have a copy of those to make sure that they're up to date and current before I arrive into court? Because if he doesn't have his current oath on file the way he's supposed to, and they seldom do, case dismissed.
I don't understand why they say this. He and other sovereign citizens also are under the assumption for some reason that their oaths aren't going to be correctly under file. Like, of course they are. It's a formality that judges go through when they become judges. It can be a little ceremonial when they're sworn in too, because they're officially becoming a judge. It's a thing that happens and is then filed. This idea that they all don't have correct, like, filings of oaths is so weird, because it's basically a formality anyway. No one is changing their judicial behavior based on whether or not they signed a piece of paper or took an oath.
Judge, do you claim to derive your authority over me based upon statute? Yes or no?
Probably from the state's constitution if I had to guess what lays out the state's court structure.
I'm setting him up. I'm pinning him in a corner. Because he's going to answer, yes, of course I do. Great. And where's my paycheck stubs? Where's my company car? Where's my 401k? You're claiming I'm an employee of the state?
No one's claiming that. You are being accused of a crime, so you're in court to get your due process as a person. It has nothing to do with employment.
The county, of the city? Where's my paycheck stubs? I think you owe me a bunch. How much do you make? How much these state employees get paid for driving a car around? Paid for by the state.
Can we get you on contempt for that?
I'm not at war. See, that's another thing. What is a warrant? Is it a warrant? What is a warrant? It's a warrant. It's a declaration of war. They're declaring war upon you. I'm at peace. On my house, I fly the civil flag of peace. I walk into the courtroom with the flag of peace on my document.
What's the flag of peace?
They can't declare war on me when I'm at peace. They can't hold me for.
As an axiom, every country that has been at war, at least one side was at peace and then were attacked. That's what a war is. So every war in human history has involved a party or group of people that were at peace and then were attacked. That's what war is a lot of the time. Now, sometimes there's mutual aggression, but someone always attacks first, right? So, kind of an insane thing to say.
For contempt when I'm at peace. This is just a discussion, and they can't out-debate me.
Yes, they can. They can certainly put you in jail if you consider that out-debating you.
A physical flag that you have?
Yeah.
What does it look like?
No, it's more of a Matrix thing. When the time comes, you won't need to debate. You'll have a bailiff.
Gosh, you all think we have one flag in this country? We have lots of flags. The red, white, and blue that you all see is our war flag. We have a peace flag too. And it's red and white vertical stripes with a white background with blue stars. Look at the United States Coast Guard's flag. It's the civil flag of peace because they were developed as a civil organization, and then they put their logo in the middle of it, and they called it the Coast Guard flag. But it's on a civil flag of peace. For 3 years in this country was at peace, and we flew the civil flag over all of our commerce buildings in our capitals.
Really?
3 years.
Everyone going, really?
A long
They
time.
just eat it up. They just eat the slop. He vomits it out and they go, yum, yum, yummy in my tummy. Delicious vomit.
Time ago, brother.
We have been at war.
Ever
They just
since.
slurp it down.
Especially since rotten Lincoln.
Oh, this is the part where he shits on Abraham Lincoln. Are you surprised?
Oh, brother.
We have been at war.
Ever since. Especially since rotten Lincoln. Stinking Lincoln. Communist. Follower of Karl Marx. Failed 5 times to run as president because nobody wanted him.
Abraham Lincoln was not a Marxist. I believe he shared a few letters, if I remember correctly, with Marx. So Lincoln was aware that Marx existed. He was not a Marxist.
It wasn't until the big bankers of Boston, New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia got behind him and put $7 million in his campaign that he finally won. And then he couldn't be president of the de jure United States of America, so he bankrupted and formed a Delaware corporation. And he made him put the Grand Army of the Republic in charge of the United States, and then he made himself commander-in-chief. And that's why every president since has been sworn in as commander-in-chief as well as the president.
The term commander-in-chief is in the Constitution, you idiot. That wasn't invented with Lincoln. What are you talking about?
Of the corporation. President Trump is the first man that restored the republic by executive order. In fact, June 22nd of 2019, in the Rose Garden, he gave me that hat.
One more reason why they're against it.
Explain that again.
And he told me,
He's been at the White House, too. I assume he bought that hat on the internet.
I restored the republic, and now it's
We'll
up
miss you, Felix.
to you. And if you look at all his executive orders, I don't care whether you're a Trump fan or not, but if you're not, you will be by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, that's just a general Washington, D.C. tourist hat that they sell at every little shitty tourist trap shop in D.C. I've been to D.C. If he met Donald Trump would have given him a MAGA hat because Donald Trump is a narcissist and everything needs to be about him. He would not have given him a generic Washington, D.C. tourist hat.
Because every executive order he has written goes something like this. I, Donald J. Trump, as President of the United States of America, that's our de jure government, take back our utilities from the United States.
Which is the corporation.
Do you know what he just did? And people read that and they don't even know jurisdiction. See? They don't even know what he did. And he's done that over and over and over again on behalf of the people. He just keeps restoring the republic over and over and over again. Right now, he's destroying the WHO and Fauci and the CDC.
His hat kind of reminds me when I was a kid and I bought a hat at a flea market that said FBI. I felt so fucking cool. I was like 7. Like, yeah, people are gonna think I'm in the FBI because of this hat that says FBI.
See? And
Got it at a flea market in Florida. I wore that hat a lot. It's also where I got a pellet gun. Florida.
the pharmaceutical companies, he's destroying Western medicine. He's destroying it all on behalf of you. He signed 4 executive orders, and then he had to hop on an airplane for fear he'd be shot.
They always try to kill him.
5 times in the last week. 5 attempts.
5 in the last week?
Yep. Just in the last week.
They're grasping for straws.
Yeah.
No,
That's right.
they're not grasping for straws. They got to shut him down. So he doesn't pay attention.
That's right. He knows it. And he's got the best Secret Service agents this history has ever seen. Those boys are tough.
So is he,
If not, he'd be dead.
I've heard rumors of him taking over the Fed or, all of the Fed.
Yeah.
Go to your bank and see how much coins they have. See our coinage he took back for the United States of America. The Fed doesn't have access to it. There's a ton going on. I know IRS agents that have already received their pink slip and been told to look for another job. Okay.
The Fed Reserve got absorbed into the
The wage and income tax has never been legal. It's always been a gift. Abe Lincoln.
Untrue. The IRS has an entire page on their website, several pages. It's a section on their website, which I do want to go over someday, that is addressing sovereign citizen arguments. So directly on the IRS website, you can list, I'm not even kidding, they list every sovereign argument and then an answer to it with specific citations in the law. So no, you have to pay taxes. It is not voluntary. It is legally required of you if you are making income in the United States over whatever the minimum amount per year is now. I'm not sure.
Did the 1040 bonds. The 1040 is still here. You consent to it by filling it out and signing it, sending it in. By your own consent and admission, you pay taxes. Nobody at the IRS can figure out why you keep sending them in. They just can't figure that out. But you just keep doing it, and they keep getting that gift, and they love every minute.
Gooner McGee, thanks for following.
Okay. Judge, do you claim to derive your authority over me based upon the doctrine of parens patriae? Yes or no?
You guys remember the show McGee and Me?
They don't want to answer that question. So I said, Judge, yes or no?
I'm
Judge,
just imagining McGee in a jar.
I need an answer to that question. Yes or no? You don't want to get away with shit. Okay? They're your public servants. Take control of the courtroom.
Because he's going to assert that he doesn't have to answer to you.
Yep, he absolutely does. He absolutely does. He lost all immunity.
He tries to take back command of that court. Because
Look, you know, the only state in the United States I've never been in is West Virginia. Do you know I helped remove the entire Supreme Court of West Virginia off the bench a couple years ago? It was in all the papers. I've never even been in that state. But they were doing a lot of people harm. So we got them off the bench. They lose their immunity.
Was the entire Supreme Court of West Virginia ever actually removed and he's just taking credit for it? Or is that a wholly made-up thing? Let's find out.
When they step outside of the scope and authority of the law in which we, the people, lay down.
They did in 2018. In 2018, the West Virginia House of Delegates voted to impeach all 5 justices of the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia for charges relating to corruption, overspending, and lack of oversight. David Strait had nothing to do with it, but I'm glad he's willing to take credit for shit he never did.
The minute they step outside of that scope and authority, they lost their immunity. As long as they're operating inside that, they're immune. We can't touch them. We can't sue them. But if we can prove...
all the laws they create.
Okay, this is the most important question. You got to get them to answer. These 3 questions, you get them to answer. Judge, do you claim to derive your authority over me based upon...
Looks like 2 of the justices remained in their positions and all the rest were either resigned or retired.
Your oath of office, statute, parens patriae.
Who, in my opinion, has the more ridiculous claims, this guy or David Wynn Miller's mentor? David Wynn Miller's mentor. Because that guy claimed he, did he claimed he died and came back to life, and then he never had to sleep again. He was crazier. He was crazier.
You got to get them to answer it. Once you do, you can destroy the case with those 3 questions. Because if I'm not a citizen, person, or resident, they have no authority over me as statute. I have limited diplomatic immunity.
Nope.
Ask each of the
Are you a diplomat? No, you're not.
That means if I don't kill someone or rape someone or injure another human being, I am immune from any statute. The only thing I can be held accountable of is harming someone else. Love thy neighbor, do no harm. That's our motto, okay? We're at peace. We love thy neighbor and do no harm. Does being at peace mean we can't shoot them in the head when they try and steal our kids? No, it does not.
You are protecting your property.
That's right. In fact, most states have the eminent domain, our castle laws. Our home is our castle, okay? Now, should we give them fair warning? Yes, we should. That's what no trespassing signs are for. That's why you don't open your door. You don't step out on the threshold to talk to them. You hand them a little warning notice through the door while it's still chained, and you close the door and you lock it behind you. And then they get to read. And if you wrote that notice properly, they'll get in their car and they'll drive off and they won't come see you again. 3.
He's implying that one should threaten the lives of state officials who come to your house, whether it be the police or CPS, and the implication further is that if they enter your home against your will, even if they have a warrant, that you should pew pew, which is, you know, very illegal. Also, last I checked, against the 10 Commandments, which he seemed to care about.
Very, very important questions, and sometimes you must ask it 3 times. So if they refuse, you say, all right, Your Honor, I've asked you 3 times. You've refused to answer. This case is now dismissed without prejudice, and you walk out the door. And don't look back.
When you do all this and you start walking up,
And they say, bailiff, grab that man.
I mean, they're not gonna really just give you the
And then you are grabbed against your will and arrested for contempt of court.
As you're walking up, if you're sitting in the back row and they call your name, the minute you take your first step, I'm here by special divine appearance, Your Honor, to call for a constitutional court of record before you even get through that bar. Okay?
Yeah, otherwise you probably won't give you that chance, right?
Right.
Well, you gotta take the chance.
Well, you have to establish your status, standing, and jurisdiction. So let's talk about that. Status. We already did a little bit. Standing. Jurisdiction. I'm going to write it way over here. Why do I do that? First of all, the Bar Association misuses the word jurisdiction on purpose to confuse the public. It's probably the most misused word in the legal arena, okay, the legal stage. Why do I say that? Because I've already told you what the 3 jurisdictions are: land, air, and water. It's trust law.
No, it's not. No one uses that as a way to classify different parts of the law. That's made up bullshit.
Equity law, contract law. That's our 3 jurisdictions. What does the word juris mean? It means right, law.
I'm looking
What
up
does the word diction
jurisdiction
mean?
already, by the way.
You look words up in a dictionary, don't you? The words you use determines the right law under which you
Hydrate.
stand.
Will do.
So if I say I'm a party, what law am I under? The jurisdiction of the water. I'm a party to a contract. If I say I'm a trustee, what jurisdiction am I under? The air. If I say I'm a owner who holds superior title, I'm in the jurisdiction of the land.
Also on YouTube, someone pointed out that David Strait had nothing to do with the Supreme Court justices getting removed. That was apparently a reporter by the name of Kenny Bass, or Bass, that received a Pulitzer Prize for his investigation into the justices. So way to take that person's credit, you asshole.
Land. April the 22nd, I put on a class at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. in front of a whole group of young lawyers. William Barr actually set that up for me. Okay. And I put on the class similar to what I'm putting on now, but I didn't have as much time. So I had to cram it in really fast and in a very specific order. But I taught them 1 + 1 is 2. They didn't know that. They didn't know the basics of law. They're out there trying to do algebra, and they don't even know 1 + 1 is 2. So I asked them, what is the law? Where did it come from? Where's its origins? How did we arrive at this thing called law where a small group of men could put something down on paper and hold me, a man, accountable? And I stood there like this. You could have heard a pin drop. They couldn't come up with an answer. They said, oh, one kid piped up and says, oh, it's a bill on Capitol Hill. And you know that little cartoon thing? He was repeating that. I just went. And then I told him about Genesis 1.
They really like stories that make them feel smarter than people they have derision for in the legal profession. Have you noticed that? It's important for the narrative that he frame lawyers as idiots and his audience as secretly brilliant and at base level more intelligent, curious people than attorneys. which is on average probably not the case.
126 through 28. And I told them the basics of law, and I taught them about jurisdiction. See, if they thought it was in the city's jurisdiction, or the county's jurisdiction, or the state's jurisdiction, or the federal government's, or this.
Jurisdiction. Old French. Getting past that stuff. 1. A government's general power to exercise authority over all persons and things within its territory, especially a state's power to create interests that will be recognized under common law principles as valid in other states. 2. A court's power to decide a case or issue a decree. 3. A geographical area within which political or judicial authority may be exercised. 4. A political or judicial subdivision within such an area. Those are all the definitions of jurisdiction. None of them are what he said.
Agency or that agency. They thought that was what jurisdiction means. No, that's venue. Who has the authority over it in that location is venue. Jurisdiction is, do they have authority? And in which law do they have authority?
That's not venue, because there are different courts within the same jurisdiction that cover different aspects of the law, different issues. So that's venue. Jurisdiction is the area. Venue would be which court you're in.
So after I got done, this young attorney came up, 29 years old. He looked like he was 12. He was a grandson of a judge and the son of a judge. Long line of judges. Very smart man. He could rattle things off like you wouldn't believe it. But he thanked me for what I taught. And he said, can I tell you a story? And I said, sure. He says, when he was 16 years old and his dad was teaching at Georgetown Law, he got to go and sit in one of his dad's classes. And his dad taught law just like I did.
Trust me, guys, they're teaching law just like me at Georgetown. I'm not a con artist. This is an Ivy League education I'm giving you.
Air and water. And he says, but he said it a little bit differently than you did. And I said, well, how did he say it? Because I took several hours to talk about it. He says, he said it in a few minutes. And I said, well, then I want to know, because I've been doing this like 35 years, right? And the first 20 years, I made it really complicated, and I could talk really fast, and I would just blow people's minds, and none of them would listen, and I'd have a group of 20 people, and then a year later, I'd go back, and I'd still have the same group of 20 people. I go, this isn't working. About the noisiest little go-kart I've ever heard. Anyway, I said, this isn't working. If I'm going to get the same people year after year, the same 20, this isn't going to work. How can I wake up America, right? And he said this. He says, when a man walks into a courtroom, the very first thing he sees when he walks in is a little sign up on the judge's desk that says, Your Honorable Bob Smith, or whatever the judge's name happens to be. The reason it says honor is because you can't have honor without trust. You can't have trust without honor. Which form of law is trust law? The jurisdiction of the air, the highest form of law.
None of that has any bearing on why it says honorable. That's just like an honorific that we give judges. It has nothing to do with trust law.
It is superior law. There's nothing more important in the law than having a fiduciary responsibility for the benefit of another. Okay? So he said this, the very first job title hat the judge puts on when he walks in the room is Your Honor hat.
Yes, Brain Squid. Every judge is that character secretly wearing different wigs.
The very first thing he's going to administer, the first juris he's going to administer, is the jurisdiction of the air. He wants to see if the man walked in with his express trust in hand. There's two types of trusts. Express and implied. This is written and this is unwritten. And if the man doesn't walk in with his express trust in hand, then the judge is going to imply a trust. Where he's...
No, they're not. They're not looking for anything about a trust. This is a criminal matter, the hypothetical that you're painting. It has nothing to do with any sort of trust. There was no trust involved.
Executor. And you're the trustee who has somehow mismanaged the trust on behalf of the beneficiary, who's the prosecution, or whoever's bringing the case.
There's
and
no
therefore
beneficiary.
You owe the prosecution something for your mismanagement. What is a misdemeanor, by the way? What is demeanor? It's your attitude. It's a miss. You got a bad attitude, go sit in the corner. You got a misdemeanor. You got the wrong attitude. That's what a contempt charge is. It's a misdemeanor. All right? All right. Words are important, and we just don't understand them. Never taught English at school. That's why attorneys...
They literally do. It's called English class. Did you skip every day at school for 12 years?
have a whole separate word for it. They call it legalese.
Now, It's not a separate language.
Pleas is a separation of words in the English language into one of three jurisdictions.
It's not. It's literally just the word used to talk about jargon within the legal profession.
So if I'm a driver or an operator of a motor vehicle upon the highways, I have to have a driver's license. But if I'm traveling in private on the roadways in my private automobile, all I need is my passport. See the difference in the words? They both mean going down the street in a car, both those sentences. See? But the word you use determines the juris you're under.
Nope.
And it's up to you to determine your own words.
That's absurd. The idea that different semantic phrasings of words will change what legal jurisdiction you're under is deranged and makes no sense. It's wizardry. They think the law works like wizardry.
That's right. They open their mouth. Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and absolutely will be used against you. Okay? And they'll bait you. Those cops will go, now, are you driving that automobile? No, they won't say that. They'll ask you if you're operating that motor vehicle, right? So, if the man walks in with his express trust in hand that clearly states who the executor is, who the trustee is, has an acceptance of the trustee to be the trustee, that's so they can't break the trust bail. It's important. Tells who the beneficiary is, what property the trust is managing and how it's supposed to be managed, for who, the heirs. Then there's nothing for him to adjudicate. He can't imply a trust if there's an express trust in hand.
There's
He has to go by the express trust.
no implied trust. They aren't expecting an express trust. There's no trust.
And you know what? Trusts are private. You don't have to show the judge a trust. He does not need to read it. All you have to do is walk in and you say, Judge, you can't imply a trust when I have an express trust that clearly states who the executor is, who the trustee is, has an acceptance of the trustee to be the trustee. It tells who the heirs are and the beneficiaries, what property is supposed to be managed by the trust, and how the trust is supposed to be managed.
Okay, and they'll say, this is a criminal matter. This has nothing to do with whatever trust you're talking about. So come up to the defendant chair, otherwise I'm going to hold you in contempt of court, okay? And then you're going to start to argue, and then they're going to say, no, no, no. Stop now, or contempt. And either they'll continue to ramble and get taken into custody, or they will realize that this is fucking nonsense.
And then you just set it back down on your table. He can't adjudicate it. So he has to take that hat off. And he puts on his judge hat. Now he's looking to see if there's a victim. If there's a victim, there's a crime, it's going to trial. Physical injury to another. If there's not, it's civil.
That's not a requirement for a crime to have been committed.
He turns his head around. And he's looking to see if the man walked in with his superior titles in hand. Wait a minute. If it's an automobile case, do you have your MSO or MCO? You walk in with it? If you don't, he's going to imply the state has a certificate.
Is he Texan? I don't know where he was living during the last years of his life.
Get a title, the state owns it, and he's going to regulate you, and you're guilty. You see? Now let's say it's a foreclosure. If you walk in like Ken Cromer did with his land patent after I taught him how to do it, and his grant deeds and his superior titles in hand, they can't imply an abstracted title. So Ken gets to move back in his house.
There's no abstracted title. There's a title to the house. Presumably he either hasn't paid his taxes or his mortgage, so the title gets confiscated.
Okay. What about your life? If you walk in having claimed your minor estate and taken ownership of your birth certificate.
I guess I should rather say you already didn't have the title because you hadn't paid the loan yet. Or if you owe things in like state taxes, property taxes for your house, then they can take possession of the house.
In hand, and you now own the vessel. You're not just a signatory officer. See, what is a person? A person is an office of the vessel. That's your job title. You're an employee as a person. That's why every state statute starts off by saying all persons must do this, and all persons must do that, and all persons must do this. They don't say all men and women must do this. They can't regulate a man or a woman.
Yes, they can. Person is a gender-neutral version of man or woman, which is why they're using it. Plenty of old codes and laws just say man, and they were using that for all persons, but it still means the same thing. All human beings.
They can't regulate somebody alive. I can only regulate.
You bet your ass they do. That's mostly what they do. What are you talking about? The government isn't for the dead, it's for the living.
A dead entity, a vessel, a person, a signatory officer. If I'm a man and I write my autobiography, which is the story of my life, and I go to the bookstore and sell it, and people line up to buy my book, do I put my signature on it or I sign my autograph? A man signs his autograph.
Both are the same, effectively. They're just semantic. They're both the same thing.
And he does it on this side of the paper. A signatory goes on this side of the paper. A trustee signs in the middle.
Not relevant to anything.
A signatory signs in blue with black ink. A man signs in red. A trustee, having fiduciary responsibility, signs in purple. You guys don't know the law. There's 3 jurisdictions. There's 3 places for signature. There should be 3 seals. Do you have your own seal for each of your jurisdictions? Oh, guess you're not free. Okay. So, if you have all your superior titles in hand and you stand firmly upon your rights, there's nothing for him to adjudicate. So he takes his judge hat off and he puts on his Mr. Administrator hat. Okay? Now he wants to see if you have your business affairs in order. He's looking at the jurisdiction of the water. He wants to see contracts. He wants to see your business affairs.
I promise you, the judge wants none of that. If you go in, they just want you to be arraigned. They just want you to plead.
Think Michael Jordan and Nike for just a minute.
This is the stupidest comparison.
Michael Jordan signed a 5-year contract with Nike for $1 billion, $200 million a year, just so they could use his name. It's a good gig if you can get it, right? During that time, a police officer couldn't even write Michael Jordan's name on a ticket without the prior express written permission of Nike or Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's not true. And they even laugh, because, you know, it's like a joke. But then he's like, that thing I just said is a joke? Literally, though.
See, they can regulate commerce, but they can't interfere in it. Title 15 of the United States Code becomes your savior, because it says any documents that they used your trademark name on must be destroyed. So that ticket goes through a paper shredder.
You're gonna get a bench warrant. Wannabe says, I loved that one court case where the judge said if you are a rep for so-and-so, sit down. This is an in-person appearance, and if they aren't here, I'll issue a bench warrant. Yep.
So you want to trademark your name.
Absolutely, you want to trademark your name. So how you take dominion over your 3 jurisdictions is first you do a trust. And now I'm going to back up. You have to take status first. You got to claim who you are. Claim your status.
Trademarking your name won't do anything. It'll be a supreme waste of your time. You know what's trademarked? Every company name. You know who still gets sued? Companies. You think Coca-Cola isn't trademarked? Coke still gets sued.
Did we make enough copies of those? Pass one of those out to everybody. You have to claim your status. Status, standing, and jurisdiction is everything in the law. Everything. You have to know who you are and what status. Maximum law, again, is that in which one creates, one controls. As a state national, I'm one of we the people who created government. Guess what I control? Government. Government created the U.S. citizen. Guess who they control? You, the U.S. citizen.
None of this is true.
Hey, we're not free in this country. As long as you self-determine that you're a U.S. citizen, you are not free. Now, is there anything wrong with being a U.S. citizen? Yes. Yeah, there is. That was a trick question I was throwing out there. Yeah. So you need to do your trust to take dominion over the air. You need to have your superior titles and know your rights to take dominion over the land. Now, Michael Jordan and Nike, that's what I was on, that story. Let me ask you a question. CPS comes in people's houses every day and they steal kids. They kidnap kids as a private.
They don't kidnap. Kidnapping is illegal. By definition, it is a criminal act. CPS has the legal authority to remove children.
For-profit entity, not government. Half the people I talk to are not bad parents. Now, every once in a while, there's a drug dealer or somebody like that that needs their kids taken from them. Who should take them? A church or a family member.
I'm so curious how he thinks that would work. Any church can arbitrarily decide that some parent isn't worthwhile based on presumably their doctrine, their religious doctrine, and they can just go steal a kid, or any crazy family member you might have can just steal your kid, and the state can't get involved, so it's just chaos of people stealing kids, and there's no one to adjudicate the matter because apparently the state isn't allowed? That's insane.
It's not up to government. Government shouldn't even be involved in the family unit at all. Zero. None.
So he's mad CPS takes kids from parents who are brainwashing them. That's probably part of it. I think he also knows that the kind of people who have had their children taken by CPS sometimes get very desperate and are willing to fall for scams like this.
They have no business being in your family. Okay? None. I get sometimes 70 to 100 phone calls a day from parents all over this country whose children have been taken. Every day, day in, day out. I was with her yesterday, and I got a phone call to listen to their story. Brought me to tears, didn't it? Not many people can handle those kind of stories. What if I had a business, ABC Inc., licensed by the Secretary of State's office, bonded with a gold and silver, which I like to use. One of the number one ways the government gets you is by being a pauper. I don't care how big a stack of this crap you have in your pocket. That's legal tender. It does not discharge a debt. It tenders.
It absolutely does. I've paid things off with fiat currency, and you know what happens? It gets taken off my credit report because I no longer owe that loan anymore. It's listed as completed, as paid back.
There's it to a later date. When the probate of the...
It's just such an interesting lie to tell. It implies that the people in his audience have never repaid a loan in their lives if they don't understand that, yes, you can pay back loans in full, and then they're done and gone. Like, have none of these people ever paid back a debt and know that, no, actually you pay it and it goes away? Like, what is he talking about?
Balance sheet of the Cestui Que Trust gets probated, the debts get paid. This never pays off a debt. It tenders it to a later date. But that does. And if you've got a silver or a gold coin on you, they can never deem you a pauper.
Oh, cool. How are we valuing gold again? Oh, is it versus dollars? We value it based on how many dollars it's worth? Oh, okay.
And if you look in the law what a pauper means, every U.S. citizen is deemed a pauper, therefore a debtor. And they can never deem you a pauper if you've got a little gold and a little silver on you. In my pickup truck, I carry a little jeweler's sack with 40 pieces of silver on the door.
He has not covered the understand thing, no.
They can never deem me a pauper. But it doesn't... Good man. But what is... It gives them control. You're unable to handle your own affairs. See, if you look up in the law, who can an attorney represent? They can represent an entity, a corporation, or a vessel. They can represent a minor. They can represent someone incompetent or somebody infirmed. They can represent a ward of the court and a ward of the state, or a pauper. Did I leave some words out? See, they can't.
Yeah, the part where they defend normal people all the time that aren't in the categories you just listed. Hey, Caitlin.
Represent a man or a woman. Yeah, they can't represent a man or a woman. It takes 3 signatures.
They do. Every day. All the time. That's what defense attorneys do.
To put you in jail. Did you know that? And if they don't have those 3, you can't go to jail. Anybody know Gina Nielsen over in Cache County, Utah? I met Gina after her trial. She was found guilty by a jury, and she was going to be sentenced to 15 years in the state prison. By the way, Gina got held in contempt and thrown in jail for a little bit, but that's not a prison sentence. That's a misdemeanor, and it's go sit in the corner. You've been naughty.
Is he under the impression that most people can go to jail for like a month at a time and just continue to survive? People can't just be picking up contempt of court charges. They're going to miss work. They're going to lose their jobs.
But she never spent one day in jail, and she never will. Her case has been dismissed. Why? Because I told her they require 3 signatures to put you in jail, Gina. They require yours by taking a plea, the prosecutors and the judges, or your attorney who will sign as your power of attorney on your behalf.
They don't need you to plead to send you to jail. What are you talking about? They need a plea or a guilty verdict.
Throw you in jail. So it takes one of 3 signatures, the judges, the prosecutors, and either yours or your attorney. That's why they try and force you to have an attorney, because you're incompetent, you're infirmed, you're unable to speak for yourself, you're a citizen, a person, a resident, you're not sui juris. What does sui juris mean? Of one's own right. I walk in the courtroom sui juris, and they can't even speak to me. I have to tell them what to do. See, they might argue with me a little bit, but they never win. They can't win. It's impossible for them to win when you're sui juris. When you've taken dominion over your 3 jurisdictions, they can't win. So let's get back to Michael Jordan and Nike. What if you owned your children? You took ownership of their vessels as your minor children.
You can't own another human being? That's against the law.
And you held them in trust, and you trademarked or patented, or did both, your children.
You can't patent or trademark your children. They're people with rights.
See, what is the jurisdiction of the water? It's commerce, right? It's contracts and commerce. It's corporate bylaws.
This is just made up.
It's banking. The most important is contract law. So, if I had a business, ABC Inc., licensed with the state, bonded with gold and silver, and I went to the United States Patent and Trademark Office website, and on their T's Plus form, I trademarked my vessels, mine, my kids, my family's, under a bulk trademark under that business name, and I took ownership of that.
Meaning their names, business names?
All caps name, their vessel name, the one that's on their birth certificate. Okay, we're talking about taking control of their vessel, because that's what the courts care about. That's what they have parents patria over, right?
If the stuff he was saying was true, then you wouldn't be able to patent it because it would already be owned by the United States Corporation when they created that trust, right? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make internal sense, even within his own bullshit.
You have parental rights over your living children. The problem is you don't have any living children. They're all dead entities to the state. See?
No?
So they take control over the vessel through parents patriae. But if I take control over the vessel, and I own my property, which is my children, they're a gift from God to me. Okay?
You do not own your children.
And I patent them on the land. I put them in trust as a fiduciary, and I trademark them in with my business. And my business has a EIN number and a bank account and a product offered for sale in international commerce. And my business has the intent to make a profit. And I go out and I put my children's names on t-shirts, my name on a t-shirt and their names on a t-shirt, just like Michael Jordan's name on a Nike t-shirt. And I offer them for sale on a website.
Again, it's like he said the Michael Jordan thing as a joke at first, but now it's like he's implying literally you can't arrest Michael Jordan because his name is affiliated with Nike. It doesn't make any sense. Stone Corbell says, if I patent my child on the land, a special kind of nonsense you don't get to hear anywhere else. Hi, Freyline.
For $19.95, I'd make it $21.95. There's a little key about getting over 20 bucks, okay? So I offer it for sale for over 20 bucks on the internet. And I walk into the court wearing one of those t-shirts. And this is a Child Protection Services case.
They can't even talk about you.
And
Why were you called in for a CPS case? You want to maybe talk about that a little bit? Why you were called in for a CPS case on your children? Because I feel like you're burying the lead a little bit.
I say, I don't talk about the facts of the case because in reality, in their courts, no truth or fact shall be tried in court. It's all based upon presumption, assumption, tacit agreement, and hearsay. That's their motto. No truth or fact shall be tried in court. Okay? And I walk in there and I say, you can't interfere in commerce. Your Honor, you can only regulate it. You're interfering in a trademark. I demand the return of my property.
Okay, your children aren't your property, and this has nothing to do with trademarks or commerce. This is a family court thing, so sit down.
Trademarked property. And any document that idiot prosecutor put that name on without my express written prior permission, I demand for it to be destroyed under USC Title 15. Case dismissed. So you walk in with your superior titles, you walk in with your express trust, you walk in with your business affairs in order, and there's nothing left for them to adjudicate. Case dismissed. I just told you how to win every lawsuit, every time they come against you. But you have to get your affairs in order. You have to claim your status. You have to set up your trust. You have to record your superior titles and get hold of them and record them. Anyway.
Just curious, let's say we were fined $1,000 for not wearing a mask or all this craziness.
Your offer to contract is not accepted.
So would you ignore it and not pay it? Or
You have a 72-hour right of rescission. You ignore anything, you're in trouble.
It's not a contract. You can't rescind it.
Never ignore anything.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Everything is banking laws.
It is expressly not.
If your credit card company sends you out a bill, an invoice, you take it and you say, all right, I'll get to that, and I'll pin it up on my fridge and I forget about it, right? Then what do? They send you a past due notice because you had 30 days to pay that bill. You had 72 hours first to rescind the contract once you filled out the credit card application. You had 72 hours to stop it. You didn't. You got the card in the mail, you went out and spent some money, then they sent you a bill. You got 30 days to pay it. If you don't pay it, they give you a 15-day past due notice. You got 15 days to pay it. At the 16th day, they cancel your credit card and they send you to collections.
After 16 days past due, I feel like they'd at least give you 30.
If you know anything about contracts, there's no privity of contract with a collection agent. Okay? So let's say you owe a medical bill at the hospital and you can't pay it. So they send it for collections. They do this every day of the week, right? To just about everybody. And you can't pay it. And a collection agency goes to the hospital and buys that debt for 50 cents on the dollar, and then they try and collect from you.
A uniquely American problem.
Man, they call you up on the phone. You know what I say? I have a totally different conversation with them than you do. You, they run over the top of. Me, I say, oh my gosh, did you purchase that debt from the hospital? And they say, well, yes, we did. I say, thank you very much. I really needed that help in my life at this time. Thank you for doing that. But you and I, there's no privity of contract.
Hey, trying to be a cute little shit about this and thinking that you're funny doesn't make you right. They have a legal right to collect on that debt because they legally bought it, and they will sue you to collect. And then the court will force you to pay them because it is a legal debt that you owe.
But I appreciate it. And I'm done.
So does it work different if it's like that student loans?
Oh, those are government backed. Pay for them with your Cestui Que Trust.
That's bad advice.
I've got a question for you. Something just
He just shakes his head and puts his head down. Did you see that? No, wait a minute. Don't go any further yet. Wait a minute. I said, pay for them with your Cestui Que Trust. And what was your thought when I said that? And you just kind of closed up and put your head down. See? We the people need to make friends with the United States Code. The United States Code was put into place for one reason only, and that's for us to hold our public servants accountable. In USC 50...
Well, I'm Credit Cuddlefish says, hi, Hannah. Just catching up with streams after a busy couple of weeks helping run our local government by-election here. Didn't encounter any explicit sob-sits whinging about compulsory voting, but based on the comments on some of the ballot papers we're processing, they're out there. Well, thank you for volunteering to do that. That's a nice thing of you to do. Any funny comments you'd care to share? Ashley won up with 50 bits. Stupid! You're so stupid! Surprise!
50, there is a way to pay your debts with your Cestui Que
Watch UHF. It's a funny movie.
Trust. You're the creditor. But you can't do it if you're a citizen. Caveat. You have to become a state national. You have to become one of we the people. There's not many of us left. I think we've created about 40,000 we the peoples in this country, maybe a little more than that. That was probably a year ago's figure. And that's it out of 337 million. Because every contract written is written by an attorney. And you ever look at a document that's written by an attorney, it's got lines on it, and it's got little boxes on it, things are boxed out. See, they know English language. They know legalese. They know styles. And they write contracts to eliminate the liability from the person paying them to write the contract and place that liability upon you. So they wrote you an unfair contract. And what you didn't do is walk in, sit down with them, get an agreement on how much to pay and how much to pay you were going to pay and how much your down was, and then go home and write the contract, bring it back and say, here's my contract. Sign this. And you didn't do it. See, you could have wrote a fair and honest contract, but you didn't.
And they would reject it because they have enough potential customers that they're not going to argue with you over the specifics of the contract for your credit card that they're offering to many, many millions of people.
And so they took advantage of you because you didn't know any better. How many law classes did you have kindergarten through 12th grade? See, I say that over and over again because nobody does. And that's why when I was telling you the story about Justin in the Space Needle in Seattle, and his buddy that came over that hired him says, who do you think controls it all? We write all the contracts. We write all the sales literature. We write all the invoices. We do this, we do that, we do it all. The Bar Association runs the world. And who are they? Do you know who they are?
British Accreditation.
The British Accreditation Registry. The United States of America has a treaty, 1947, with the bar to operate upon these shores. Wasn't the first one, that's the newest one.
We gave our country back way back then.
Okay, if you go to the communist country of Illinois that Abraham Lincoln used to run,
The communist country of Illinois!
if you go to their website, you look under the Office of the Attorney General of the state of Illinois, and you click on the History tab, it says, the Attorney General's Office of the state of Illinois was put into place to protect and uphold the interests of the Crown. Isn't the Attorney General the highest lawyer in the land of Illinois? And it was put into place to protect and uphold the interests of the Crown? The British Accreditation
I would imagine that that was written a long, long, long time ago, if it's even actually in there.
Registry is under the Crown.
It's not. It's not. The bar is not the British Accreditation Registry. That's a thing sovereign citizens made up. Bar is not an acronym. It has nothing to do with England or the British Crown. This is fabricated.
Constitution, wouldn't that be treason?
Hold on a minute. No, we adopted it. You acquiesced. You haven't thought to change it. No, I'm just saying, okay? When I say you, I'm not pointing directly at you, okay? No, here's the issue. The issue is they're supposed to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act under FARA. They don't. The British Accreditation Registry. You walk into a courtroom right here in Utah, and if you're not a member of the bar, they're not going to let you talk for somebody else, right? I can't go in and represent her unless I'm a member of the bar in Utah. They'll say no. Great. Show me where a bar licensed attorney is licensed by the state of Utah. They aren't. They're licensed by the...
Yeah, certain professions have organizations that handle the licensing, like the American Board of Medicine and various other medical boards do qualifications. They're not part of the government, but nonetheless, they're organizations that are private that the government entrusts to regulate their particular vocations. It's not illegal for them to do that.
The bar. It's a labor union. It's no different than IBEW Electrical Workers Credit Union.
So they don't have any more jurisdiction than you?
No, none whatsoever, except that's what that satanic cult called a court operates. The bar is Satan, guys.
The bar is Satan. You just said it was the crown.
And 5 or 6 of those members are the head of the church. Yeah. You wonder why Utah's all screwed up.
The bar runs the church too.
Huh?
Yeah, Satan runs the church.
Yeah, what I'm trying to...
Harold Ebbelman says, I'm trying to work out his deal with Lincoln. Is it just taxes? Doesn't seem to be racism, and Lincoln never gave more than 2 craps about the LDS church, as far as I can tell. Any ideas? I would imagine, I think there probably is some racism at play here. He's very right-wing. I'd be shocked if he wasn't racist. But also, the Union winning the Civil War is an important turning point in American history where, on balance, federal power expanded. There was kind of a point where it was like the balance of power between states and the federal government was balanced differently. And after the Civil War, slowly but surely, the federal government gained more and more and more power, and more things came into its purview, usually using things like the Commerce Clause in order to justify granting new powers in order to regulate things. So I imagine he views it that way. He views Lincoln as the start of a stronger form of federalization of the government. That's a guess, though. Spongy Lord says, knowing the origin of words is such a simple pleasure, and a man like this throws so much bullshit into the system of possibly curious people, making them dumber for his own grift. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say here is we need to take our country back as we the people. And we're at war with the Bar Association. And people don't even realize
I thought you said you were at peace.
And some of our friends,
And that's why they couldn't give you a war rent.
our family and our next door neighbors are attorneys. And you know what the sad thing is? They don't know. Everybody is a compartmentalized legal idiot. Everybody. I don't care what job you have. You go to work every day and you just do your job. And you have no idea what's going on over here or what's going on over here. See, if I laid the map of Utah out here, and this is Utah, the land, the geographical area map, and I drew a land patent on that map, and I put your home in that land patent, where you got it through a grant deed, then you actually have a superior title and you own that land, that home. But if I come in and I put a clear piece of plastic over the top, and I do things like change your name to all caps, and I change your address, and instead of land patent number 4361, I put lot 3 of block 27 of Spring Hill subdivision, and I re-describe your property, and I take it out of meets and bounds, and I make all kinds of clerical errors, and you come in and I send you those clerical errors on your tax invoice, and you just write a check and send it back. Guess what? I just stole your property on behalf of the state, and you accept it. And until you come back and call fraud and correct the errors and educate me so I never do it again, because see, it took a lot of people. It took a cartographer, it took an appraiser, it took a tax assessor, it took a county recorder, it took a real estate agent, a title company, an attorney, blah, 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 blah. It took all these compartmentalized legal idiots to create a conspiracy to deprive me.
I don't think his main motivation is racism, Harold Elbelman, but I think it's in there. I think it's like a side quest. I think this weird, like, scam is his main quest, and then the racism is just, like, in the background.
Of my land.
Racism is a mini game for him.
And every one of them was just doing their job. But when you add them all up and put the
Just a Pete with $1 says, desegregation had more to do with buying school books than having people's best interests. Does it really? I'm sure there's a story behind that. I'm not getting into it right now, though.
results together, that's exactly what they did.
Either way, integration, good.
Is they stole my home on behalf of the state, and they didn't even know it. So I'm not saying rush in and declare war on them and start yelling at them and tell them everything they did wrong. You got to correct all the errors and then educate them.
We're seeing that now on our sovereignty, right?
I'm going to take umbrage with that. You know how many people fought during the civil rights movement to get people rights and to get integration to happen? To simply write that off as some cynical thing, even if there is some story about, like, buying school books being more efficient or cheaper after integration, that is not the primary moving force behind school integration. I'm just going to full-on disagree with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. These damn sheep around here that are wearing masks are killing this country. The recovery rate for COVID, that's right. Less than the common cold, less than the flu, less than H1N1, less than all the things
Yeah, that's not true.
we've had over the years. Why we weren't in fear of it then? Why are we in fear of it now? How many people know somebody that died from it? I'm doing 9 lawsuits right now. 9 lawsuits.
Over 1 million people in the U.S. died.
Of family members that have died of COVID. One of them died in a motorcycle accident. One of them had stage 4 breast cancer, was with hospice for longer than she was supposed to live. But because they list COVID on her death certificate, she gets cremated.
Yeah, he just likes to make stuff up, doesn't he? You think he ever felt a tinge of irony when he caught cancer? Like he was using lies about cancer in his grift and then he gets cancer?
She had a plot
Like a dark irony?
already paid for next to her husband, and her family is pissed. And they want to sue. All 9 of them. Their deaths were listed as COVID, and none of them died from COVID. What is COVID-19?
Certificate of vaccination.
Okay, that's one term for it. It's C, the sheep, surrender. 19 is the code word for surrender in the military. If I yell out an order, code
Why is Ovid sheep?
19, code 19, that means my guys on the front line are supposed to wave a white flag.
So what's OVID?
This is the ancient Greek word for sheep. This is a military code. The disease was called SARS-CoV-2. Why did they change the name? In the 2019 prospectus of the WHO, which
19 is for the year it was discovered, if I need to say that, if people don't remember. It was because it was initially discovered in 2019.
was written in 2018, it described everything that's going on right now to a T. And this disease wasn't even here, supposedly. Going clear back to 2003,
So what did you say, the Ovid?
This has been planned.
Old Greek for what?
Sheep. Okay? It's all a farce. Is the
Ovis was the Latin word for sheep, not Ovid. Okay.
Is the disease real? Yes, it is.
So he's lying again.
Okay. What does corona mean?
Crown.
Corona is a crown. It's an energy crown.
The corona of the sun is an energy crown, but not, it just means crown.
Okay. It is a bacteria. This whole germ theory thing has been
It's a virus. It's a virus. It's not a bacteria.
debunked, guys. You cannot pass
He doesn't believe in the germ theory of disease. Wow.
COVID or corona, whatever you want to name it. You can't pass it this way.
Incorrect. You're wrong.
The mask does nothing but harm you for wearing
Incorrect. Masks do not harm people.
it. More people are now going to the hospital from the mask than would have
Nope.
went for COVID. Okay?
You're a dumb bitch. And I'm not allowed to say what I want to say about you.
A lot of staph infections, a lot of things. The N95 mask, OSHA will tell you that it's only good in a sterile environment. That means an operating room. Once out of the operating room, the doctors remove it, throw it in the trash. It's only good in
It still blocks the air.
Sterile
What are
environment.
you talking about?
This ain't a sterile environment. Okay, it's not meant to be.
Or still rather, I mean blocks the like effluvia, the little spits and stuff.
We have immune systems. The best way for us to be immune from disease is to touch things and get it on us. And then our body fights it off and it builds up an
That worked out great for him, obviously. Obviously, his body was perfectly healthy and nothing would ever hurt him.
immunity. I haven't got sick in 40 years. I'm immune to everything.
We call that foreshadowing.
I live in horse shit. Okay? People are dying right now from hand sanitizer. They're getting a hand sanitizer that has methanol in it, which almost all of them do, and they're getting them on their hands. They're absorbing it through their skin, and they're just dying from hand sanitizer. Bleach
That's not how anything works.
and hand sanitizer are one of the largest destruction of mankind there is. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. I got one sister who is a neat, clean freak. She's older than I am now. She spends all day in her retirement driving her kids and her grandkids to the doctors. She's got the sickest family I've ever seen. The rest of the 7 kids, we all have farms, we all play in the shit.
Why are you even talking about the grandkids? The grandkids don't live at her house. What? Why aren't you talking about her kids' living environment that the grandkids are living in? What?
We travel the world, we touch things, we seldom wash our hands, and we never get sick.
I'm sorry, did you just say you seldom wash your hands? Do you not wash your hands when you piss and shit, you nasty pile of fucking fluid? What in the fuck?
You could eat underneath her sink, off the floor. She bleaches everything. Everything is sanitized in her house. She's got the cleanest house on the face of this earth. And they're all sick all the time. We are creating a whole generation of weak people. And that's what they want.
Oh, it's dumb boomer bullshit. Oh, these kids are so fucking weak. These kids are so fucking weak these days. Shut up. No, they're not. You're just a bitter loser. God damn it. Ashley Oneup says, it finally clicked. He looks like someone who works for a non-licensed zoo that's called something like Big Al's Gator Farm in Florida. He does.
Bill Gates would like to see a 1/3 to 1/2 reduction in the number of people on this earth. You know he's committed genocide?
Yes, yes.
Genocide.
No, he hasn't. Bill Gates, obviously connected to the Epstein stuff, so not going to defend him as a human being. But he's never committed genocide, nor were any of his comments about vaccines, about reducing the population by killing people. He was talking about the statistical reality that when countries become more developed, people have fewer children per capita.
Well, in India, he didn't commit genocide, but he killed over 400,000 people. In Africa, he actually committed genocide. There's an entire race of Africans who can never have children, and once they die off, they cease to exist. They're sterile because of his malaria drug, had a
Just making shit up.
sterilization component in it. Okay? The drug they're trying to produce right now for this, that they're scaring everybody, that they're getting children used to having a gun pointed at their head, pointing at their pineal gland with these temperature things. That's right, they're getting you.
You think that thermometers are getting kids used to having guns pointed at their head? Man, we live in America. Kids are ready to get shot at any moment when they're at the library, when they're at gym class. What are you talking about?
Indoctrinated for destruction. Okay. The guy that made the chip, the way they keep the battery going on a chip is they have to put it in one of two places where the temperature changes the most.
He went to the Kent Hovind School of Grifting. Similar rhetorical styles.
Right there in the hand or right there in the forehead. Can't put it in their forehead because everybody will see it and it'll look ugly. So they're going to put it right here in your hand. And the natural temperature change of this part of your hand keeps the battery going. You'll be able to walk up and pay for things with your hand. Gosh, you see the employees at that Wisconsin company lining up to get a chip? Take the mark of the beast in your hand. Read what it says about that in the Bible.
White replacement theory incoming eventually, I'm guessing. I don't think he gets into that,
And you go straight
luckily.
to hell. There ain't no forgiveness for that sin. It says it right in the Bible. Okay? Don't do it. Defend your family, your family's life. It's their salvation. Eternal salvation is at stake. Okay? All right, I feel like a preacher. I don't mean to be a preacher, but that's what tends to happen with this.
All right, so now we're a little under halfway through the first day of that seminar. So we'll continue that another time. Anyway, thank you everyone for hanging out. I much appreciate you. I appreciate your viewership. Love hanging out with you guys. Part 2 and 3 get even crazier. I should warn you. Part 1 was the boring episode that we had to get through. Alright, so I do work a long shift tomorrow again. I don't know why they're giving me weekend shifts. It's unfortunate. So I won't be able to see you tomorrow, but I will be back Sunday for a regular and patron and YouTube member only stream. And then I have, I believe, next week off until next Saturday. I have all the weekdays off, so I'll be doing streams all the upcoming next week. So starting Sunday, you'll be seeing me Sunday through Friday, unless I take a day off in there somewhere. But you'll be seeing me a lot in the next week. So sorry I've been having to work recently, but it's just how the schedule's turned out. So, who are we gonna raid? This person has a daily goal to eat a pickle? That's interesting. Alright, we'll do this raid, and then I'll see you soon. Ooh, I gotta make dinner and go to bed, because I gotta get up at 6. Alright, night everyone. See you Sunday. I think pickles are delicious. They're salty and dilly. Bye.